Hinduism is not a religion, it's a way of life. The term Hindu itself was coined by foreign merchants and invaders, derived from the river Indus, which was in turn derived from the name Sindhu. And it isn't a word used in any of the Hindu texts. So, what did the Indians refer to their practices of Hinduism before the advent of foreigners into India? Dharma, also known as Dharma or Dharam. But Dharma itself does not mean religion. It's a very obscure term which literally has no translation and which we'll be talking about later in the video. Another term used to describe the entire umbrella of Hinduism is Sanatan Dharam, or the eternal religion, also called as Vedic Dharam or Vedic religion. In this video, I'll try giving a brief, and I mean very brief and broad idea of what Hinduism encompasses. And the reason I say brief is because it is a vast subject. Because unlike Abrahamic religions, which have one ultimate guidebook like the Bible or the Quran, there are tens of thousands of texts in Hinduism, more like updated versions of an app. One can also see them as an update on new philosophies and way of life. These include 12 broad schools of Indian philosophy, 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, 2 epics, numerous smritis, innumerable commentaries, regional variations, works by recent saints and scholars, and countless subsets, practices, and beliefs. This will give you an idea. The Mahabharat alone, which is one epic, is approximately 10 times longer than both the Iliad and Odyssey combined. So, as much as we try, it's hard to compress the entirety of Hinduism in one video, or even multiple ones. Having said that, I'll try covering as much as possible in this to provide you a framework of Hinduism. We'll start with the common knowledge that everyone mostly knows of, and then work our way down to the obscure stuff, and in the end, the absolute hidden stuff which hardly the majority of the people know about. Without further ado, let's start right away. Much like any other religion, Hinduism also has the Holy Trinity, also known as the Trimurti. It comprises the 3 principal deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Each of these deities represent a distinct aspect of the supreme cosmic function: creation, preservation, and destruction. Together, they embody the cyclical nature of the universe. Brahma is the god of creation and is responsible for creating the universe and all living beings. Also known as Prajapati or the Supreme Father, he is often depicted with 4 heads, 3 visible ones, each reciting one of the 4 Vedas. He is often shown seated on a lotus, symbolizing purity and divine wisdom. Brahma's consort is Saraswati, who was created by Brahma himself. And there are also some texts which mention that Brahma is not eternal. He rather created himself. And this might sound paradoxical. How can something create itself out of nothing? So Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom, knowledge, music, art, and learning. She is usually shown with a musical instrument called veena. She rides a swan or a peacock. Vishnu is the god of preservation and protection, also known as Hari, Narayan, or Vasudev. He is basically the showrunner of the universe. He maintains the order and harmony of the universe. He is typically portrayed in a dark blue or black complexion, symbolizing the infinite sky and cosmic waters. He is usually dressed in fine yellow silk robes known as pitambar, which represent purity and divinity. Usually seen sleeping on a giant snake called Sheshnag, Vishnu's mount is the Garud, a mighty eagle with the ability to transcend the material world. His consort is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, fortune, and prosperity. Lakshmi's 4 hands often symbolize the 4 goals of human life: Dharma, Karam or Karma, Artha means meaning, and Moksha, which means liberation. She is usually shown standing or sitting on a lotus and is associated with the owl. Vishnu is known for his 10 avatars, also called as the Dash Avatar, which include the likes of Ram and Krishna. He incarnates in these avatars to restore cosmic order from time to time. More on the avatars later. Vishnu is one of the most widely followed gods in Hinduism, with numerous temples dedicated to him. Followers of Vishnu are called Vaishnavas, and Vaishnavism is one of the major sects in Hinduism. Shiva is the god of destruction and transformation, also known as Har, Mahadev, Shankar, Mahesh, and Bholenath. He is responsible for the dissolution of the universe, which allows for rebirth and regeneration. Shiva is often depicted with a third eye on his forehead, a crescent moon in his hair, a serpent around his neck, and the skin of a tiger wrapped around his waist. His consort is Parvati. She is the goddess of love, fertility, and devotion. Parvati is also associated with various forms, including Durga and Kali, who represent her more powerful and warrior-like aspects. Shiva and Parvati's children include Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, the elephant god, and Kartikeya, the god of war. Shiva is commonly worshipped in the form of lingam or a shivling, a symbol of his generative power. He is the central figure of Shaivism, one of the major traditions within Hinduism, and is worshipped in many temples including the Kedarnath temple and the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. The three Murti together represent the three essential aspects of the divine in Hindu cosmology: creation, preservation, and destruction. Each deity and their consorts play a critical role in maintaining the balance and order of the universe. Apart from the Holy Trinity, Hinduism has a rich pantheon of other major deities as well, each with unique attributes, legends, and roles within the cosmic order. Here are some of the most significant ones. Hanuman, easily recognizable due to his monkey face, is one of the most revered deities in Hinduism, known for his unwavering devotion to Lord Ram, who was an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Hanuman is also known for his immense strength and courage. He is a central figure in the epic Ramayan, where he plays a crucial role in the battle against the demon king Ravan. Hanuman is also considered to be a protector against evil spirits, with the Hanuman Chalisa, which literally means 40 verses in praise of Lord Hanuman, will protect against evil forces. Then there's Ganesha, again easily recognizable due to the elephant head. He is one of the most popular and widely worshipped deities in Hinduism. He is the son of Shiva and Parvati and is known as the remover of obstacles and the god of beginnings and wisdom. One popular story of Ganesha's origin is Parvati creating him from clay and Shiva inadvertently beheading him. To appease Parvati, Shiva replaces Ganesha's head with that of an elephant. Ganesh, also known as Ganpati, is invoked at the beginning of any new venture, ritual, or even on a journey, also seen as his idol on the top of doors in temples and houses. Krishna is a major deity, revered as the 8th avatar of Vishnu, and often considered the supreme god in his own right. So, a lot of Krishna followers consider Krishna rather than Vishnu to be the supreme consciousness. He is known for his roles as a divine lover, a mischievous child, a guide, a philosopher, and a wise teacher. He is depicted in a dark skin, playing the flute, surrounded by his devotees, particularly the gopis or the milkmaids. Krishna's life and exploits are detailed in texts like the Bhagavad Puran and the Mahabharat. His teachings in the Bhagavad Gita are a cornerstone of Hindu philosophy. Krishna's birth is celebrated in the form of Janmashtami, where teams form human pyramids to break clay pots hung high above, reenacting young Krishna's mischievous adventures of stealing butter and curd from his neighbors' homes with the help of his friends. Then there's Ram, the virtuous king. Ram is the 7th avatar of Vishnu and the protagonist of Ramayan. He is the epitome of virtue, righteousness, and kingly duty. He is often depicted with a bow and arrow, accompanied by his loyal wife Sita, his devoted brother Lakshman, and his devotee Hanuman. Ramayan narrates Ram's life, including his exile, the abduction of Sita by Ravan, and the subsequent battle to rescue her. Ram Navami and Diwali are the major festivals celebrating Lord Ram. Hinduism traditionally has three major followings: Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism, along with Smartism as well. Each of them offers a unique perspective on the divine, and they present different paths to spiritual fulfillment within the broader framework of Hinduism. Surprisingly, though, Brahma, being the creator god in Hinduism, is part of the Hindu Trinity alongside Shiva and Vishnu. But despite his significant role in creation, Brahma is not as widely worshipped as Vishnu or Shiva. The most popular explanation comes from the Shiv Puran, where Brahma falsely claimed superiority over Vishnu. Enraged by this deception, Shiva cursed Brahma to receive no worship on earth in the Kali age. Another account describes Brahma's inappropriate desire for his own creation in the form of Saraswati, leading to Shiva's curse due to this moral transgression. Theologically, Brahma represents creation, but once this task is complete, his active role diminishes. Devotees turn to Vishnu for preservation and protection, or to Shiva for transformation and liberation. Unlike Vishnu's avatars who interact with devotees or Shiva's accessible forms, Brahma remains distant and abstract. His role as creator is acknowledged and respected, but devotees' practical needs for guidance, protection, and spiritual growth are better addressed by a more approachable deity. This explains why hardly any Brahma temples exist worldwide, most notably the Pushkar temple in Rajasthan. So, Vaishnavism is a major tradition which focuses on the worship of Vishnu and his avatars, particularly Ram and Krishna. Vaishnavas consider Vishnu as a supreme being who incarnates in various forms or avatars to protect the universe and uphold righteousness or dharma. Devotion and personal worship of Vishnu and his avatars are central practices. Primary scriptures include the Vedas, the Upanishads, with particular emphasis on Vishnu-centric texts. That apart, the most widely known Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita, is a key that outlines Krishna's teachings on dharma and devotion. Other texts like the Vishnu Puran and the Bhagavad Puran narrate the stories of Vishnu and his avatars. In Shaivism, Shiva is considered as the supreme god. It is one of the oldest and the most diverse sects within Hinduism. They see Shiva as the ultimate reality, the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer of the universe. Many followers practice meditation, emulating Shiva's yogic lifestyle. The Vedas are the foundational texts, with additional scriptures like the Shiv Puran, which narrate the stories and teachings of Shiva. The major sects within Shaivism include Shaiv Siddhant, which is prominent in South India and focuses on both the personal devotion and philosophical aspects of Shaivism. Kashmir Shaivism is also a philosophical school that emphasizes on the non-dual nature of reality. So basically, depending on your beliefs, each of the Holy Trinity is the creator in his own right. Like Brahma is the creator of the universe, while Vaishnavites consider Vishnu to be the creator and Shaivism considers Shiva to be the sole creator. It is also important to note that despite Brahma being the creator, he is only the creator of this universe. And yeah, we'll be talking about multiverses or Koti Koti Brahman as it is known as we move down the iceberg. Then there's Shaktism, which focuses on the worship of Shakti or the divine feminine energy. Shakti, often referred to as the great goddess Mahadevi, is seen as the supreme power and the source of all creation, preservation, and destruction on the universe. So, this divine feminine energy, much like the Greek Gaia or Mother Nature, is considered the ultimate reality, transcending the male gods. Shakti manifests itself in many forms, including Durga, the warrior goddess, Kali, the fierce destroyer, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, and Parvati, the goddess of fertility. Shaktism often incorporates tantric rituals, which involve complex meditations, mantras, and practices aimed at awakening the divine energy within. The divine feminine energy is seen as a balancing force to the male divine energies. Parvati's relationship with Shiva, for instance, symbolizes the harmony between power and tranquility, action and meditation. Festivals like Navratri, a 9-night festival, celebrates the various forms of Shakti, culminating in Durga Puja, particularly seen in Bengal. Now, here are the different forms of Shaktism. Durga, the warrior goddess, is a fierce and powerful goddess, embodying the collective energy of all the gods. She is often depicted riding a lion or a tiger and wielding various weapons with infinite hands. This symbolizes a power to destroy evil and protect righteousness. Durga's most famous legend involves a battle with the buffalo demon Mahisasur. She is worshipped during the festival of Navratri to celebrate her victory, and Durga Puja is a significant cultural aspect of Bengal. Lakshmi, the consort of Vishnu, is the goddess of wealth, fortune, and prosperity. During the festival of Diwali, people especially worship Lakshmi, showing their gratitude for all the wealth and fortune. Lakshmi is also associated with the supreme beings Maya, which, despite its literal translation of illusion, is a topic we'll dive deeper later in the series. During the churning of the ocean, or the Samudra Manthan, Lakshmi emerged from the water and chose Vishnu as her consort. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge, music, art, and learning. She is said to have created Sanskrit, the language of the Vedas, and is revered as the source of all creative arts. Saraswati Puja or Vasant Panchami is celebrated to honor her. Students and artists seek her blessings for wisdom and success in their endeavors. In the pantheon of Hindu deities, few figures command as much awe and reverence as Goddess Kali, the fierce manifestation of divine feminine power. Her story begins with a cosmic battle that threatened to destroy the very fabric of existence. The demon Raktabij had received a terrible boon. Every drop of his blood that touched the earth would spawn another demon identical to him. When the Devas' armies struck him down, thousands of Raktabijas arose from his spilled blood, creating an endless cycle of regeneration. Victory seemed impossible. It was then that goddess Durga, in her supreme fury, manifested Kali from her forehead. Dark as the night sky and eyes blazing like fire, Kali descended upon the battlefield. As she fought Raktabij, she caught every drop of his blood with her tongue before it could touch the ground, preventing new demons from forming. When she finally beheaded the original demon, she consumed his blood entirely, ending his reign of terror. But victory came at a cost. Intoxicated by the taste of blood, Kali's rage knew no bounds. She began performing a destructive tandav, her bloodlust threatening to consume the universe itself. Seeing the danger, Lord Shiva threw himself beneath her feet. When Kali realized she was dancing upon her beloved consort, shock and shame overwhelmed her fury. She bit her tongue in surprise and embarrassment. Her rage instantly transformed into protective love. This act highlights Shiva's role in calming and balancing Kali's destructive power, showing the complementary nature of energies of the male and the female that represent the balance between destruction and preservation, chaos and order. Kali's fearsome appearance carries deep symbolic meaning. The skulls represent the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, the source of all knowledge and creation. The severed hands remind us that our actions, our karma bind us, and only surrender to the divine can cut us free. Her dark complexion symbolizes the infinite void from which all creation emerges and returns. She is time itself, the inevitable force that brings both destruction and renewal. She destroys ego, ignorance, and attachment, so that we can discover the eternal truth behind all forms. Smartism represents one of Hinduism's most sophisticated theological approaches, emerging as a unifying tradition that embraces multiple paths to the divine. Founded by Adi Shankaracharya in the 8th century AD, this tradition offers a remarkably inclusive vision of spiritual practice. At its core, Smartism teaches that all major Hindu deities are different manifestations of one ultimate reality called Brahman. This non-dualistic philosophy, known as Advaita Vedanta, holds that the apparent diversity of gods and goddesses simply reflects the infinite ways the divine can be experienced and understood. More on that later. Primary worship of 5 deities, which include Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, like the Divine Mother, Ganesha, and Surya. Practitioners can choose their preferred deity, called an Ishtadevta, while acknowledging that all 5 represent aspects of the same cosmic consciousness. Unknowingly, much of the common people in India follow Smartism, celebrating all the festivals, worshipping all the gods, because it is a confluence of each of the sects of Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism. It was in ancient India that people were classified in each of the traditions. What makes Smartism particularly relevant today is its inherent pluralism. In a world often divided by religious differences, Smartism demonstrates how multiple spiritual paths can coexist and complement each other, all leading to the same ultimate truth. Whether you worship Krishna, Shiva, or Shakti, you are ultimately connecting with the same infinite consciousness that pervades all existence. The common belief is that Hinduism is all about vegetarianism and that all forms of meat are considered taboo. However, Hinduism encompasses a diverse array of practices and rituals, but certain dietary habits are commonly observed. So, most of Hindus, especially followers of Vaishnavism, adhere to vegetarianism. The Swaminarayan sect, the ISKCON society, and even many followers of Shaktism and Shaivism also promote a vegetarian diet. Some of them even avoid onions and garlic. Jainism, closely related to Hinduism, also promotes vegetarianism, excluding root vegetables like potatoes, onions, garlics, beetroots, etc. This is often seen as a way to practice ahimsa or non-violence. But then there's another logic behind vegetarian food. Mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita and Ayurveda, food is categorized into three types based on its qualities and effects on the body and mind. This is Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Sattvic food is pure, balanced. It promotes mental clarity, it makes you calm, and grows you spiritually. These include fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, dairy products, fresh juices, herbal teas. This is the food that the saints consume. Then there's Rajasic food, which means the food of the kings or the rajas. This food is very stimulating. It's dynamic, it increases your energy and activity levels, but potentially leads to restlessness. It makes you anxious. Examples include spicy food, fried dishes, caffeine, sugary food. So, Rajasic food, despite boosting your energy, it may cause overstimulation and agitation, which is not suitable for spiritual growth. Then there's Tamasic food, which promotes lethargy and dullness. It's often stale, heavy, and difficult to digest. And this includes meat, fish, alcohol, eggs, and even processed foods. Tamasic food can lead to sluggishness and lack of motivation, hindering physical and mental health. That said, there are various Hindu sects, particularly in certain regions of India, which consume meat and perform animal sacrifices as well. Followers of certain traditions within Shaktism, such as those who worship the goddess Kali, offer animal sacrifices specifically during festivals and rituals. We must talk about the sacredness of cows. Why do Hindus avoid eating cows? The reverence for cows in Hinduism stems from spiritual symbolism and practical considerations spanning millennia. The Vedas describe the cow as sacred because she embodies selfless giving. She sustains without asking for anything in return, which is why she is honored as a mother or Gaumata. Just like a child consumes milk from the mother, the same way a cow gives milk to an entire family and is enough to sustain one family's needs. Lord Krishna, one of Hinduism's most beloved deities, was a cowherd who spent his youth protecting cows. This association elevated the cow status to a sacred level, making her a symbol of Krishna's compassion. Practically, cows were invaluable to the ancient Indian society. They provided milk, yogurt, and ghee for nutrition. Their dung served as fuel and fertilizer. As for food, the principle of ahimsa, non-violence, is central to Hinduism. Since the cow represents motherhood and nurturing, killing her for meat is seen as the greatest form of ingratitude and generates negative karma, affecting spiritual progress. While different Hindu traditions hold varying perspectives, the cow status as sacred has remained consistent across most communities. Today, cow protection continues as both spiritual practice and cultural identity. The Ramayana is one of the two great Indian epics. It is a profound narrative that explores themes of duty, righteousness, and devotion. Composed by the sage Valmiki, our tale begins in Ayodhya, where King Dashrath rules with wisdom and prosperity. His eldest son Ram marries Sita and is said to be crowned as King Dashrath's successor. However, King Dashrath's queen Kaikeyi invokes two ancient boons the king had promised her. She demands that her son Bharat be crowned king instead, and that Ram be exiled to the forest for 14 years. Bound by his word, the heartbroken king grants these cruel wishes. Ram accepts his fate without protest, demonstrating perfect obedience to his father. Sita chooses to accompany her husband into exile, while Ram's devoted brother Lakshman also joins them, refusing to let Ram face the wilderness alone. The three embark on an epic adventure in the forest, meeting sieges and living peacefully along with other animals. That is, until Shurpanka, a demoness, shows up and tries to seduce Ram. After being rejected by Ram, she tries to attack Sita, which forces Lakshman to cut off her nose and stop her. Humiliated, she seeks revenge and convinces his brother Ravan to abduct Sita. Ravan, the 10-headed demon king of Lanka, encounters Sita and becomes consumed with desire for her. Using his power of deception, kidnaps Sita. As Ravan's chariot soared through the sky, the mighty eagle Jatayu attacked the demon king. Despite his brave effort, the aged bird was no match for Ravan's strength. Ravan severed Jatayu's wings and sent him crashing to the forest. While searching for his beloved wife, Ram encounters Hanuman, the mighty monkey warrior. Hanuman introduces Ram to Sugriv, the king of the monkeys, who becomes Ram's ally. The monkeys, known as the Vanarsena, build a bridge across the ocean to Lanka, demonstrating that devotion can accomplish the impossible. After a fierce fight in an apocalyptic war, Ram faces Ravan and Ravan falls. His reign of terror ended. Righteousness triumphs over evil. But the trials aren't over. When Sita returns, some question her purity after living in another's palace. To prove her chastity, Sita undergoes trial by fire, emerging unharmed as the flames refuse to touch her pure soul. The 14-year exile complete, Ram returns to Ayodhya. His brother Bharat, who had ruled only as a regent while awaiting Ram's return, joyfully places the crown on Ram's head. The kingdom celebrates as the rightful king assumes the throne. Ram's rule, known as Ram Rajya or Pax Rama, becomes the ideal of perfect governance, where justice prevails and all subjects live in peace and prosperity. A perfect utopia. The Ramayan teaches us that duty transcends personal desire, that good ultimately defeats evil, and that devotion and righteousness can overcome any obstacle, no matter how impossible it may seem. The Mahabharat is the longest epic in Indian literature. It is a monumental work made up of 100,000 shlokas or verses, divided into 18 chapters. Written by Ved Vyas, at its core, Mahabharat tells the story of a great war between two branches of a royal family. But it is much more than mere Game of Thrones. Kings from not just 7 kingdoms, but throughout the entire Indian subcontinent took part in this war. The Mahabharat also includes the revered Bhagavad Gita, which is just a small section of the entire epic. The story centers on the rivalry between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, two groups of cousins vying for control over the kingdom of Hastinapur. The Kauravas, led by Duryodhan and his 100 brothers, represent ambition unchecked by moral constraints. The Pandavas, 5 brothers named Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev, embody various virtues and are guided by a sense of duty and righteousness. Their common ancestors are Dhritarashtra, who is the father of Kaurav, and Pandu, who is the father of Pandavas. Both of them were the sons of King Vichitraveer. That said, the most significant character of the Mahabharat is not the Pandavas or the Kauravas, but Lord Krishna, who is considered to be an avatar of Lord Vishnu, who serves as a guide and a charioteer to Arjun. Other key characters include Draupadi, the shared wife of the 5 Pandav brothers; Bhishma, the grandsire of both families, who is bound by a vow of celibacy and loyalty to the throne. Then there is Dronacharya, the royal teacher who trained both the Pandavas and the Kauravas in warfare. The story's central conflict is set in motion by a game of dice, in which Yudhishthir, the eldest Pandav, loses everything. The game is basically rigged by Duryodhan's maternal uncle Shakuni. In this fixed game, Yudhishthir loses his kingdom, his brothers, and even his wife Draupadi to the Kauravas. This deceit leads the Pandavas in exile for 13 years, including 1 year in disguise. During the game, Draupadi is humiliated by the Kauravas, an event that becomes a catalyst for the eventual war. Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas seek to reclaim their kingdom. When negotiations fail, both sides prepare for war. It is at this crucial juncture on the battlefield of Kurukshetra that Arjun decides to put down his weapons. He does not want to fight his own family and kinsmen. This is where Krishna famously shares the Bhagavad Gita, a 700 verse scripture which is just one scene from the epic Mahabharat. As the war is about to begin, Arjun is overcome with despair. Seeing his beloved teachers, cousins, and friends arrayed against him, Arjun's resolve crumbles. His bow slips from trembling hands as he declares he would rather die than fight his own kinsmen. In this moment of despair, his charioteer reveals his true identity. Lord Krishna, the supreme divine consciousness. What follows is the most profound spiritual discourse ever recorded, addressing Arjun's moral dilemma with teachings that transcend the immediate battlefield to encompass all human existence. Krishna's first teaching is about the eternal nature of the soul. Death is merely the soul changing bodies like a person changing clothes. The true self cannot be killed, making Arjun's grief over potential deaths ultimately meaningless. He then introduces the concept of dharma, righteous duty. As a warrior prince, as a Kshatriya, Arjun's sacred obligation is to fight against injustice, regardless of personal attachments. Abandoning this duty would create cosmic imbalance and personal spiritual downfall. He teaches Arjun the paths of yoga, karma yoga, the yoga of selfless action, bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion, and jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. The message is to do your duty without attachment to results, offering all actions to the divine and seeing the same self in every being. When Arjun still hesitates, in the climactic 11th chapter, Krishna reveals his cosmic form, a terrifying and magnificent vision of divine totality containing all existence within himself. This revelation convinced Arjun of Krishna's supreme divinity and the cosmic significance of the war. The Gita concludes with Arjun's transformation, his confusion dissolved. He picks up his bow with renewed determination. The great war begins and Bhishma leads the Kauravas' forces. After 10 days of intense fighting, Bhishma is downed by Arjun. But Bhishma is immortal. He can only die when he wishes to die. So until the war ends, Bhishma lies in a bed of arrows. Then comes Dronacharya, the teacher of both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Fierce battle takes place, resulting in heavy casualties on both sides. Arjun's son, the teenage yet courageous Abhimanyu, is killed in a brutal and unfair manner, deepening the Pandavas' resolve. After the death of Dronacharya, Karna takes lead of the Kaurav forces. But here's the catch. Karna was the illegitimate child of Kunti, the mother of Pandavas, before her marriage. So technically, Karna is the Jon Snow of Mahabharat, who is the rightful heir to the throne. But he keeps up with his promise to aid his friend Duryodhan in the battle. And when Karna and Arjun fight, it is two brothers fighting against each other, one of them not even knowing the other to be his brother. In this climactic duel, Arjun, guided by Krishna, ultimately kills Karan. Duryodhan, the man who fought against the Pandavas since childhood, is ultimately killed by Bhim in a one-on-one mace battle, along with his other Kaurav brothers as well. The Pandavas finally managed to defeat the Kauravas and win their rightful throne to Hastinapur. But despite this, the victory feels pyrrhic. It is won at too great of a cost to be worthwhile. Yudhishthir is said to be crowned the king of Hastinapur. Bhishma, on his deathbed, imparts and provides guidance on various aspects of kingly duties, dharma, social duties, and moral conduct to Yudhishthir. The parents of both the Kauravas and Pandavas retire to the forest to lead a life of penance and eventually pass away. Krishna and his clan is caught up in a civil war which ultimately destroys his entire clan, and after ruling for a long time, the Pandavas renounce their kingdom and embark on a final pilgrimage to the Himalayas. After reaching heaven, Yudhishthir finds his brothers, Draupadi, as well as his enemies enjoying the fruits of their earthly deeds. He learns the impermanence of earthly ties and that ultimately all souls unite to be one. The Mahabharata is a timeless epic, which delves deeply into the concepts of dharma, karma, and the ultimate goal of liberation. Speaking of which, what is the meaning of dharma? Also called dharam or dharma, it is commonly used in Hinduism and Buddhism. Yet, it is the most elusive word to translate into the English language. Terms like righteousness, good conduct, duty, noble quality only describe an aspect of its meaning. Dharma comes from the root word dhri, which means dharan karane yogya, or responsibilities, duties, thoughts, and actions that are appropriate for us. For example, the dharma of sun is to shine, a lion's dharma is to hunt, and a deer's dharma is to escape from that very lion. And so, the dharma of your soul is to become one with the Supreme Being. How? Dharma varies according to one's age, caste, gender, and occupation. Each individual has specific duties and responsibilities that they must fulfill, known as Swadharma. Every atom in the universe is created with a purpose, from the ants to the stars. It's their dharma, their very nature. So every morning, when you cannot get out of bed, you must ask yourself, is this what I was born for? Dharma also represents the universal law that upholds and sustains the cosmic order. It includes principles such as truthfulness, nonviolence, and compassion. It requires understanding and performing the right actions in any given situation. Following dharma is essential to accumulating good karma and progressing on the path to moksha or liberation. Now, karma and dharma are interrelated. Karma or karam literally means action or deed in Sanskrit. It refers to the principle of cause and effect, where intent and actions of an individual influence their future. Every action, whether good or bad, creates karmic imprints that influence your future lives. The cumulative effect of one's actions determines the circumstances of future births, including one's physical form, social status, and life experiences. Basically, no good deed ever goes unrewarded. Neither does any evil deed go unpunished. Karma gets its revenge, in this life or the next. But here's the catch. One should not do good deed to seek rewards. Neither should one refrain from evil only for the fear of punishment, as is widely explained in the Bhagavad Gita. And so, what is the connection between karma and dharma? Performing one's dharma or righteous duty leads to good karma, which in turn influences future circumstances positively. Dharma provides the ethical framework for actions, while karma reflects the outcomes of those actions. Hindu cosmology presents a profound understanding of the universe and the cycle of life, encapsulated in the concepts of Brahmand, the cosmic egg or the universe, and Samsara or Samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. There can be a slight confusion here. Brahma is the creator, Brahman is the ultimate reality, and Brahmand is the universe. Brahmin or Brahman is the caste. The root origin of God, reality, and universe is all the same, with Brahma being present in each of them. In Hindu thought, the universe is called Brahmand, literally the cosmic egg. It begins with Brahman, the infinite formless reality beyond time and space. From this arises Maya, the power of creation, which creates the cosmos. Creation follows cycles. Each universe lasts for a kalpa, billions of years, before it dissolves back into the infinite. Then creation begins again. This eternal rhythm of creation, preservation, and destruction is carried out by the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But the universe is not just physical matter. According to the Upanishads, it has layers, gross, subtle, and causal, mirroring the body, mind, and spirit. That which is in the body is also in the universe. Yat pinde tat brahmande. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. Countless universes arise and vanish like bubbles in an endless ocean. Yet, through all this change, the eternal self, Atman, remains untouched. Hindu cosmology reminds us that we are not separate from the universe. We are the universe. expressing itself for a brief moment in time. Then there is Samsara or Sansar or Samsar, depending on your dialect. It is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It literally means going around in circles. We are born, we die, and we are born again. And this is driven by karma, the law of action and consequences we spoke about earlier. Reincarnation and karma is a fundamental concept in Hinduism. Every soul or Atman is eternal and it transforms from one body to another across different lifetimes based on its karma. And every soul's ultimate goal is to break free from this samsara and achieve moksha or liberation, and thus unite with the Brahman, the supreme universal spirit. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 22, Krishna explains to Arjun, as a person sheds worn out garments and wears new ones, likewise at the time of death, the soul discards its worn out body and enters a new one. In chapter 4, verse 5, Krishna goes on, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, emphasizing the eternal nature of the soul and its journey through multiple lifetimes. Now, one of the frequently asked questions with regards to reincarnation is that the current world population is 8 billion. 100 years ago, it was only 2 billion. So where were the 6 billion souls 100 years ago, considering that every being is an eternal soul? Hinduism posits that souls are not confined to human forms. There are countless other life forms, including animals, plants, and even microscopic organisms. The increase in human population can be seen as a shift of souls from these other forms into human births, and the form it takes in each birth is determined by its karma. Hinduism describes the universe as infinite, with countless multiple realms. The concept points out that the migration of souls between these realms can explain the influx of new souls into the human population on Earth. Then there are some Purans which suggest that new souls can be created. As the universe evolves, new stars are born. Likewise, as the sansar goes on, new souls are also brought into existence. Not all souls are always in a state of active reincarnation. Some souls may remain in a dormant state or exist in other dimensions and are incarnated in human form when conditions are suitable. Now, whether you are born as a pig, a human, a cockroach, or a blade of grass, it all depends on your karma. So, the Brahmand, the Sansara, the Karmas, the Dharma, and the ultimate liberation or moksha are all interconnected with each other. The Vedas, or known as the Ved, are the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. So, all Hindu texts are divided into two main categories, Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is the one that is knowledge heard by ancient sages in deep meditation. The Vedas are a part of the Shruti. There are 4 Vedas, Rigved, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharvaved. Each Ved has 4 layers. The Samhitas are collection of hymns and mantras used in rituals. The Brahmans explain the meaning of those rituals. Aranyak, or forest text, are for meditation and contemplation moving beyond rituals. Finally, the Upanishads explore the highest philosophy, teaching about Brahman, the ultimate reality, and Atman, the eternal self. So technically, the Upanishads, despite being a part of the Vedas, many people view and study them independently. Coming back to the Vedas, they begin with ritual, move into reflection, and culminate into realization. They are a complete journey from prayer to practice to wisdom. The Rigved is the oldest and the most significant of the Vedas, consisting of 1028 hymns or sukta in 10 mandals. In fact, a lot of scholars even consider the Rigved to be the oldest book of human history. The songs of Rigved are dedicated to various deities, including Indra, Agni, Som. Now, it is important to note here that a lot of Hindu historians believe that before Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and the modern day Hinduism that we know of, there was the Vedic religion, which considered Indra as the chief god. So, Indra, Varun, and Agni were the original holy trinity. Indra is the god of the skies or heavens, Varun is the god of the seas, and Agni is the god of fire. So there is a correlation with the Greek holy trinity of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, where Zeus is the god of the heavens, Poseidon is the god of the oceans, and Hades is the god of the underworld. In current Hinduism, Indra, Varun, and Agni are considered to be Devas and not gods. So, what is the difference between gods and Devas? God refers to the ultimate reality, or Brahman, which is formless, infinite, and eternal. Brahman is the source of all creation and transcends all forms and names. Devtas, or Devs, are celestial beings who represent various aspects of nature and cosmic functions. Like Indra is only the god of rain and heavens, Agni is the god of fire, Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom. They play specific roles within the cosmic order. The Supreme Lord does his work of managing the universe through them. These Devtas live within the material universe in the higher planes of existence called Swarg or the celestial abodes or heaven. They are not gods. They are souls like us. Like a government has different ministers for different posts, so do the Devtas. Souls selected by virtue of their deeds in past occupy these seats for a fixed number of ages and administer the affairs of the universe. Much like the devs of a video game, the devs control the game of Maya we are all a part of. Coming back to the Rig Veda, its primary focus was on praising and invoking the gods, seeking their blessings of prosperity, health, and success in battles. The songs cover cosmology, theology, and philosophy, offering insights into early Vedic religion and society. The Samved consists of 1549 verses, many of which are derived from the Rig Veda itself. These verses are melodies and are meant to sung during different rituals. It is a text for the priests, providing musical chants to accompany sacrificial rites. The focus is on the power of sound and music. Then there's Yajurved, which is divided into two main versions, the white and the black. It consists of prose rather than poems, and it serves as a practical guide for the sages to conduct yagnas or the sacrificial ceremonies, detailing procedures and formulas required during marriages, death, or childbirth. Then there is Atharva Veda, which comprises of 730 songs divided into 20 books, and it includes a diverse range of topics from spells and incarnations to philosophical discourses and medical knowledge. It serves both as a ritualistic and practical function, addressing day-to-day concerns such as health, protection from evil forces, longevity, and household chores. The Vedas collectively provide a guide of day-to-day living, along with religion, philosophy, and the practical aspects. The Upanishads are the final part of the Vedas and are hence referred to as Vedant, the end of the Vedas. Unlike the ritual focus of earlier texts, the Upanishads dive into philosophy. They ask what is the self, what is ultimate reality, what is the purpose of life. Their core teaching is that the Atman is one with the Brahman. Famous Mahakavyas or great sayings like Tattvam Asi and Aham Brahmasmi are a part of the Upanishads. The authorship of most Upanishads is unknown, and almost all of the early Indian literature was anonymous. It is widely known that there are 108 Upanishads. However, a lot of Hindu scholars believe that there might be more than 200 Upanishads, which means we have lost plenty of them to time. Here are some of the prominent ones. Isha Upanishad. Gandhi famously declared the Isha Upanishad to be the summit of human wisdom. He said, if all the scriptures in the world were lost, as long as the first line of the Isha Upanishad remained, then Hinduism would last forever. The first line which says, that is full, this is full. From fullness, fullness comes. When fullness is taken from fullness, fullness still remains. To the rational mind, this verse makes little sense. How can you take fullness from fullness and for fullness to still remain? Simply replace the word full with infinite or with perfect. Does it make more sense? If not, you are yet to see your infinite and complete self. And once you do that, this verse will make perfect sense. The Kena Upanishad opens with humanity's most fundamental question. By whom is the mind directed? By whom does life move? Who commands speech, sight, and hearing? The answer reveals a profound truth. Behind all our faculties lies an invisible power that cannot be grasped by the very sense it empowers. You cannot see that which enables sight, hear that which makes hearing possible, or think about that which makes thinking occur. The Upanishad's central teaching unfolds through a cosmic drama where even the Devas, intoxicated by victory over the demons, are ultimately humbled in their pride by the supreme reality. This means that what we consider our personal abilities, like thinking, speaking, seeing, are actually manifestations of universal consciousness working through us. We are not the doers, we are the instrument through which the divine expresses itself. This realization transforms arrogance into humility, separateness into unity, and ignorance into enlightenment. The Kathopanishad is the story of a young Nachiket who meets Yam, the god of death. The god gives Nachiket 3 boons. His first wish is to reconcile with his father. His second is to gain knowledge of the sacred fire ritual which leads to heaven. Yam grants both readily. But the third request is when Nachiket asks, "Tell me what happens after death. Does the soul survive or perish?" Yam reveals that the self or the Atman is eternal, unborn, undying, beyond decay. The body perishes, but the self is indestructible. The Upanishad compares the human being to a chariot, the body being the chariot, the senses being the horses, and the mind is the reins. The intellect is the driver. But the true master seated within is the self. It teaches that those who realize this self go beyond death and attain moksha. Thus, the Kathopanishad transforms death from something to fear into a doorway to immortality. Then there is Chandogya Upanishad, which says that Tat Tvam Asi, which means you are that. You are the one you came in search for. You are the one you are seeking, the one who will help you in troubles, the one who will punish you. If you understand this, you realize you are the God you talk about. Your duty includes helping others, and you also receive help from others, because by that you are only helping yourself, because they are not different from you. This concept is wonderfully told in the short story called The Egg by Andy Weir. Spoiler alert, here's the gist of it. A recently deceased man encounters a godlike entity who explains that the man will be reincarnated, not just into one person, but into every person who has ever lived or will ever live. This means that he is simultaneously everyone on earth. The entity reveals that every interaction he has ever had was essentially with another version of himself. He was Hitler, he was the Buddha, and he will be every human being in the future as well. As the story climaxes, the man learns that the universe is an egg. The entity explains that once the man has lived every human life and gained all the possible experiences, he will be ready to be born as a godlike being. This cycle of living through countless lifetimes is intended to help the man's soul grow and evolve through empathy and understanding. Then there is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is one of the longest Upanishads. It explores the nature of reality, the self, and the universe. Neti Neti, not this, indicating that the Brahman cannot be fully described by words or understood by the mind. It is the negation of all attributes and forms. The seeker realizes, I am not my body, not my feelings, not my thoughts, not the contents of my wallet, not the car you drive. You get the idea. The Upanishads are profound philosophical texts that seek to answer fundamental questions about existence and the ultimate reality. By shifting focus from external rituals to internal understanding and meditation, the Upanishads guide individuals on the path of liberation. Now let's talk about the cycle of time, also known as Yugas or Yug. In Hinduism, time is cyclical rather than linear. The common knowledge about the universe is that it began from the Big Bang around 14 billion years ago. But there is no idea of what was there before the Big Bang. How can something come from nothing? Before our universe began, there was another universe. And this is precisely what the Yug or the cycle of time represents in Hinduism, known as the Satyug, the Treta Yug, the Dwapar Yug, and the Kali Yug. Satyug is the golden age. It is the age of truth and righteousness, where virtue is at its peak. People are inherently good, spiritually advanced, and self-sufficient. There is harmony and peace throughout the world, and it lasted about 1.7 million years. Then there is Treta Yuga or the Silver Age, where Dharma begins to decline slightly. Ritualistic sacrifices become prominent as people seek spiritual merit. Society experiences a decrease in moral values compared to the previous age. It lasted for 1.2 million years. Then there's Dwapar Yuga, which is the Bronze Age, where moral and ethics continue to decline. People become more materialistic and indulgent, leading to divisions within the society and conflicts. It lasted for around 800,000 years. And then there's Kali Yuga or Kali Yuga, which is the age we are living in. It is regarded as the age of darkness and ignorance. Moral and spiritual values hit their lowest point. Greed, selfishness, violence, and deceptions prevail. Truth becomes obscured, and virtue diminishes significantly. It is important to note here that the number of years for each yuga might not correspond with the widely known timescale of human history. Usually comprises around the last 50,000 years with the rise of Homo sapiens. Mahabharat is said to have occurred 5,000 years ago, following which Kali Yuga started. So the complete cycle is still over 400,000 years away. That said, Ramayan, which is older than the Mahabharat, took place in the Treta Yuga. So technically the Ramayan predates Mahabharat by over 800,000 years. However, many modern scholars believe that the Ramayan took place around 10,000 years ago. Some even believe that the monkey men like Hanuman and Sugriv in the Ramayan were nothing but a bunch of Neanderthals who helped the ideal Homo sapien, Ram, in his quest for Sita to Lanka. Regardless of the discrepancies in timeline, the important takeaway from these yugas is the concept of entropy, a gradual decline into disorder with time. Let's look at it this way. Satyug, the golden age, saw people in different realms fighting each other. The Devas in the heaven fought against the Asuras or the demons in the underworld. Evil was light years away. In the Treta Yuga, people from different nations or in distant lands fought against each other. Ram from India fought against Ravan from Lanka. Good and evil resided in the same realm. In Dwapar Yuga, people from the same family fought against each other. The cousins Pandavas and the Kauravas were locked in the battle of Hastinapur. Good and evil resided in the same family. In the Kali Yuga, or the age that we live in, the fight of good versus evil will occur within the same person. And every yuga has an avatar of Lord Vishnu coming to save humanity. Dwapar Yuga had Krishna, Treta Yuga had Ram. In the same way, Kali Yuga will see the 10th incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Kalki, descend on earth and save humanity from the evil, Kali, which will ultimately mark the end of the cycle of one Mahayuga and the rise of the new Satyuga, a new golden age. Many people believe that Hindus always worship God which has a form, and many people prefer a formless, all-pervading God over one with a specific form. While God is indeed formless, but He is also the all-powerful, and being all-powerful means He can also manifest in a form if He chooses to. Saying God is formless or God has a personal form are both incomplete statements. Brahman, the ultimate reality, is indeed formless, but the avatars which the Lord takes and descends on earth to save humanity needs a form. And thus Lord Krishna says in the Gita, although I am unborn, the Lord of all living entities, and have an imperishable nature, yet I appear in this world by virtue of Yogmaya, my divine power. And when does God descend on earth? Whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness. At that time, the God says, I manifest myself on earth to protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to re-establish the principles of Dharma. I appear on this earth age after age. So let's talk about the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu, or the Dash avatar. Matsya avatar, the fish avatar, saved the sacred Vedas and the sage Manu from a great flood, ensuring the continuation of knowledge and life. Kurma avatar, or the tortoise, was the one who supported the Mount Mandar on his back during the churning of the ocean, also known as Samudra Manthan, which was done by the Devas or the gods and the demons or the Asuras to obtain the nectar of immortality. Varha, or the boar, rescued the earth personified as the goddess Bhudevi from the demon Hiranyaksh, who had submerged it into the cosmic ocean. Varha lifted the earth on its tusks and restored it to its place. Then there's Narsimha, with a human body and a lion's head, who descended on this earth to protect his devotee Prahlad and defeat the demon king Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu had the boon he could not be killed by a man or a beast, inside or outside any residence, during the day or during night, by any weapon or by bare hands, on the ground or in air. So all these factors practically made him immortal. And to address these conditions, Lord Vishnu took the form of Narsimha, who was neither a man, neither a beast. He was half man, half lion. He appeared at twilight, which is neither day nor night. He emerged from a pillar, which is not outside a house nor inside a house. And he held Hiranyakashipu in his lap, which is neither on the ground nor in the air, and killed him using his claws, which is not a weapon nor even his bare hands. Thus, the Narsimha avatar circumvented each condition of the boon, ensuring Hiranyakashipu's defeat. Then there is Vaman avatar, or the dwarf. Vaman was a Brahmin who subdued the demon king Bali. Disguised as a dwarf, he asked for 3 pieces of land and then expanded to cover the universe in 3 giant strides, sending Bali to the netherworld. Then there is Parshuram, or the warrior with the axe. He was a Brahmin warrior who appeared to protect the earth from the corrupt Kshatriya warrior rulers. He wielded an axe given to him by the Lord Shiva and eliminated the oppressive rulers 21 times. Then there's the famous Ram avatar, which we spoke about in the Ramayan, followed by the famous Krishna avatar, which we spoke about in the Mahabharat war. The 9th avatar of Vishnu is usually Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, who appeared to teach compassion and non-violence by spreading the message of enlightenment. Now here's the catch. Buddhist followers do not consider Buddha to be an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Only the Hindus do. Also to be noted here is that Buddhism doesn't advocate the philosophy of the Vedas. So why would an avatar of Lord Vishnu contradict himself by disregarding the philosophy and the teachings mentioned in the Vedas? In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, who is an avatar before the Buddha, says in the 2nd chapter, verse 42 to 46, those with limited understanding get attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, which advocate rituals for elevation to the celestial abodes, and presume no higher principle is described in them. They glorify only those portions of the Vedas that please their senses, and reform pompous ritualistic ceremonies for attaining high birth, opulence, sensual enjoyment, and elevation to the heavenly planets. So, do not aim for the heavens. Aim for God realization. Whatever purpose is served by a small well of water is naturally served in all respects by a large lake. Similarly, one who realizes the absolute truth also fulfills the purpose of all the Vedas. So basically, even Krishna places the Vedas within the context of the broader spiritual practices and emphasizes that direct inner realization over materialistic and ritualistic adherence. And so does the Buddha. Once again, if you consider the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita as not just religious books, but more about the science of philosophy and way of life, it becomes easier to see the contradictions with each other along with the acknowledgements. That said, Buddha isn't the only one considered to be the 9th avatar. Many people even consider Mahavir, the founder of Jainism, to be the 9th avatar instead of Buddha, while there are some who consider Balram, Krishna's brother, to be the 9th avatar. So depending on their beliefs, Buddha, Mahavir, Balram are all considered to be the 9th avatar of Lord Vishnu. And then there is the final 10th avatar, Kalki, who is the prophesied future avatar and will appear at the end of the current Kali age to restore righteousness and dharma and destroy evil. Now these are the avatars of Vishnu. Then there are some avatars of Lord Shiva as well, one of the most famous ones being Veerbhadra, a fierce warrior to avenge the insult of his wife Sati. The story is like this. Sati was married to Shiva and Sati's father, Daksha, wasn't very happy with that. So when Sati visited her father, Daksha insulted Shiva and Sati, after which Sati, in humiliation, decided to jump inside the fire, and thus the Shiva avatar of Veerbhadra unleashed his fury upon Daksha's sacrifice. Another prominent avatar is Bhairav, a fearsome form associated with the protection and destruction of evil. Bhairav is often depicted with a terrifying appearance, adorned with skulls and weapons, often considered the guardian of the city of Kashi or Banaras. Then there's Hanuman, is also considered a partial avatar of Shiva, renowned for his strength, devotion, and unwavering loyalty to Lord Ram. Hanuman's story is an integral part of the Ramayan. Another avatar is Ardhanarishwar, which is not actually an avatar of Shiva, but it is a form of half man, half woman, symbolizing the union of Shiv and Shakti, the masculine and the feminine energies of the universe. This is very similar to the Greek epic found in Plato's dialogue of the Symposium. In this story, early humans were originally spherical beings with four arms, four legs, and a single head with two faces. They were both male and female in one body. They were very powerful, which made them a threat to the gods. To diminish their power, Zeus decided to split them in half, creating the two separate beings that we are today, man and woman. The myth explains that each person now spends their life searching for their other half, which is their lost soulmate, to regain their original complete self. Then there is another avatar of Shiva known as Nataraj, who is considered as the cosmic dancer, who performs the Tandav, also known as the dance of death, or the dance of creation, preservation, and destruction, at the end of each cycle and the beginning of a new universe. The great German philosopher Nietzsche said he could only believe in a god who dances. He could have found his answer in Hinduism with Shiva's cosmic Tandav or Krishna's playful Ras Leela, and even CERN placing the Nataraj at its gate to honor the dance of the universe. The feminine avatars of each of the goddesses like Durga, Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, all of them are considered to be avatars of the Shakti, supreme feminine divine force. Now, there are so many gods. There's a concept known as 330 million deities in Hinduism, or 33 crore deities. 1 crore means 10 million. So, this has sparked considerable discussion and interpretation. In Rig Veda, the number is mentioned 33, which includes 33 kotis, as in 33 groups of deities. These include 12 Adityas, 11 Rudras, 8 Vasus, and 2 Ashwins, making a total of 33 principal deities. Over time, the word koti was associated with the word crore as in the denomination for 10 million. So this number got exaggerated to 33 crores or 330 million. As we journey through the next 3 levels of the iceberg, remember each belief and story carries its own variation. So feel free to comment on something that you feel I've left out, or if you have a different story to tell. Let's continue diving deep into the Hinduism iceberg. The story of Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean, is one of the most famous legends in Hinduism and is found in the Bhagavad Puran, Vishnu Puran, and also the Mahabharat. The Devtas, or the Devs, lost their power due to a curse from a short tempered sage named Durvasa. Seeing the celestial beings weakened, the Asuras, or the demons, planned to take over the heavens for themselves. Unable to defend themselves, the Devs approached Lord Vishnu, who advised them to treat with the Asuras in a diplomatic manner. The Devs formed an alliance with the Asuras to jointly churn the ocean of milk known as the Kshir Sagar and obtain the nectar of immortality, or Amrit, and they would share this among themselves. However, Vishnu assured the Devs that he would arrange for them alone to obtain the nectar. Both the Devs and the Asurs agreed to work together to churn the ocean. Mount Mandar was used as the churning rod, and the serpent Vasuki became the churning rope. Lord Vishnu, in his Kurma or turtle avatar, supported the mountain on his back to prevent it from sinking. As the churning began, many treasures emerged from the ocean, including the divine cow Kamdenu, the celestial tree Kalpavriksha, and the goddess of wealth Lakshmi. However, along with these treasures, a deadly poison, Halahal, also arose, threatening to destroy the universe. To save the world, Lord Shiva drank the poison, which turned his throat blue, earning him the name Nilkant. Finally, Dhanvantari, the divine physician, appeared holding the pot of Amrit. The Asurs, greedy for immortality, seized the nectar, but Vishnu, in the form of the enchanting Mohini, distracted them and distributed the nectar to the Devs. The Devs regained their strength and defeated the Asurs, restoring balance to the universe. The churning of the ocean represents the effort and struggle needed to achieve the spiritual progress. The poison halahal symbolizes the negative aspects of life that must be endured or transcended. And the Amrit or the nectar stands for the immortality of the ultimate spiritual knowledge. Nothing that you see is real, it's all Maya. You may have heard of it a lot, but what does it mean? Ma means not and Ya means what is, meaning that which is not what it appears to be. But don't be fooled, Maya isn't just an illusion. It's the matrix we need to break. It's the dark matter controlling the universe. Souls are classified as two types according to some texts. The Atman is the individual soul residing in each living being. The Brahman is the supreme soul that encompasses every atom of the creation. However, some texts like the Advaita Vedanta and the Chandogya Upanishad do not see the Atman and Brahman as different. It is Maya that creates the sense of separation, masking the underlying unity. Maya also binds the soul to the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, or samsara, by creating attachments to worldly pleasures and experiences. Overcoming Maya through spiritual knowledge and realization leads to liberation or moksha. Then there is divine Maya. Maya is not merely an illusion, but is a divine power wielded by the supreme reality to create, sustain, and govern the universe. In this context, Maya is seen as a creative energy that manifests the phenomenal world. Maya is often equated with Shakti, the divine feminine energy, and is considered the dynamic aspect of the divine. It is through Maya that the formless Brahman manifests as the tangible universe that we see. The world perceived through Maya is viewed as the divine play or a divine movie, often known as Leela of God. This perspective suggests that life and the universe are manifestations of divine creativity and joy. And we must wonder if we are all part of just another Truman show. You can see it this way. The universe is a three-dimensional creation. The Brahman is an infinitely dimensioned energy or soul that uses Maya to manifest the universe in a three-dimensional form that we see it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains the concept of Maya multiple times to Arjuna. Krishna reveals himself as the ultimate reality, Brahman, and describes the three states of material existence, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are manifested by Maya energy. They are in me, but I am beyond them. Deluded by the three modes of Maya, people in this world are unable to know me, the imperishable and eternal. My divine energy Maya is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto me cross over it easily. He further states, this material nature, which is one of my energies, or Maya, is working under my direction, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Heaven and hell is a complex topic in Hinduism. While there are several mentions of the Trilok, or the three realms of heaven, hell, and earth, it is rather a cumulative reference to the actual 14 realms of existence, 7 heavens and 7 hells. Here are the 7 higher realms, or the lokas or loks. First one is the Satyalok or the Brahmalok. It is the highest realm where Lord Brahma resides. It is a place of ultimate knowledge and enlightenment. Then there is Taplok, a realm of great sages, ascetics who have mastered extreme penance and are beyond worldly desires. Then there is Janlok, which is the abode of the Saptarishis or the 7 great sages and other divine beings who are engaged in spiritual practices and meditative contemplation. Then there is Maharlok, which is home to enlightened beings and spiritual teachers who are free from the cycle of death and rebirth but still exist within the cosmos. And then there is Swarlok, commonly known as Swarg, which many people mistakenly believe to be the heaven or the ultimate highest realm. This heaven is ruled by Indra, where virtuous souls enjoy the rewards of their good deeds. This is a temporary abode, and after enjoying the fruits of good karma, souls are reborn on earth Below the Svarglok is the Bhuvarlok, which is a realm of semi-divine beings and spirits like the Gandharvas and the Apsaras located between the heaven and earth. The seventh heaven, or the middle one, is generally known as Bhulok or earth, where we reside. It is considered the middle ground where karma is created and balanced. Then there are the seven lower lokas or the hells. First one being Atal, which is the first Patal ruled by Bala, a demon king who possesses magical powers. Souls here experience intense desires and illusions. Then there is Vital, ruled by the god Harbhav, who creates gold. Souls in this realm are trapped in delusions of material wealth. Then there is Sutal, which is ruled by the demon king Bali, who was blessed by Vishnu to be an immortal. Despite being a lower realm, it is a place of comfort and luxury. Then there is Tvalatal, which is the realm of the demon architect Maya, where souls are bound by attachments and distractions. Then there is Mahatal, which is inhabited by serpents and other kings. Souls here are consumed by envy and hatred. The sixth realm is the Rasatal, which is the realm of demons and monsters, where souls are trapped in darkness and ignorance. The lowest realm is Patal, which is ruled by the serpent king Vasuki. Souls here suffer intensely due to their negative karma. If you haven't noticed yet, the iceberg I created for this video series is named after the depths of the seven hells or Patal Lok. The concept of heaven and hell in Hinduism is not about eternal damnation or everlasting paradise. Instead, these are transitory stages that a soul experiences based on its karma. The ultimate goal is to transcend all these realms and achieve moksha, which frees the soul from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It is important to note here these seven loks, while being different realms of existence, are still a part of the divine Maya. Sure, the laws of physics might vary, but the seven hells and the seven heavens are still made from God's material energy. Here's a story that quotes this concept. Indra, the king of gods and the ruler of Swarg, which is only two realms above earth, which many people mistakenly see as the ultimate abode, becomes too proud of his achievements. He gives Vishwakarma, the divine architect, a task of building a palace that satisfies his growing vanity. Vishwakarma is tired of Indra's demands and approaches Lord Vishnu. Later, an old sage visits Indra's palace. Following him is a long line of all the ants who have ever lived. Here's a picture for your imagination. A study estimates there are approximately 20 quadrillion ants on Earth. An average ant is about 5 millimeters long. To find the total length of all the ants in a line, we multiply the number of ants by the average length of one ant. If all the ants in the world walked in one line, they would stretch approximately 100 million kilometers. This is about two-thirds of the distance from Earth to the Sun. So the sage was followed by all the ants who ever appeared on this earth. So you can imagine how long the queue must have stretched. Indra, surprised by this unusual act, asked the sage why he was doing it. The sage reveals himself as Lord Vishnu, and he tells Indra that many Indras have come and gone, each as proud as him, but ultimately insignificant in the grand cycle of creation and destruction. The ants are revealed to be former Indras, now reborn in the humble forms due to their past pride and arrogance. Just as this universe has its 14 worlds, there are infinite universes, each with its own Indra and Vishwakarma. So even the seven heavens are a part of the material world. God is beyond these realms, multiverses, time and space, and hence one should aim for God realization rather than just the heavens. If your mind isn't spinning yet, let this thought revolve around your brain. It was only 400 years ago that Nicholas Copernicus proposed the heliocentric theory, stating that the Sun was the center of the universe. In time, we found that the Sun is a part of the Milky Way, and like us, there are several galaxies in the universe as well. But 5000 years ago, the Vedas stated that the Earth or the Bhurlok is revolving around the Svarlok, and the realm between them is Bhuvarlok. The Svarlok again is moving around Janlok, and the realm between them is the Maharlok. Janlok is also circling the Brahmalok or known as the Satyalok, and Taplok is the realm between them. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity revolutionized our understanding of time and space, introducing the concept that time can move differently depending on the relative speed and gravitational field one is in. This concept was famously explored in Christopher Nolan's movie Interstellar, where astronauts experience time passing at different rates on distant planets compared to Earth. Remarkably, ancient Hindu scriptures touched on a similar idea around 2000 years ago. These realms, or loks, perceive time differently. Considering time on Earth as the yardstick, the higher loks experience time much more slowly, with one day in heaven equating to many years on Earth. Conversely, the lower lok or the hellish realms experience time more intensely and suffering is prolonged. The Vedas state that 1 year on earth equals 1 day and night of Indra and other celestial gods. Thus, 1 year of the celestial gods consisting of 12 times 30 days equals 360 years on the earth plane. The calculation goes much further. 12,000 years of the celestial gods makes one Mahayug, cycle of 4 yugs, that is 4.32 million years. Following is the Vedic calculation of time periods, or yug. Adding the Kali Yug, Dwapar Yug, Treta Yug, and Sat Yug equals one Mahayug. 1000 Mahayug make one day of Brahma, called a Kalp, and then there is Brahma's night of equal duration. And just take a wild guess of what modern scientists estimate our planet's age to be: 4.5 billion years. Then, Brahma's 1 day and night put together make 8.64 billion Earth years, and 36,000 such days of his lifespan would make 3.1104 quadrillion years. Although, if you look up online, several sources claim it's 311 trillion years, which is incorrect. In Indian numbering system, this is 3 Padma, 11 Kharab, 4 Arab. So that will be one life cycle of our universe. Now the question arises, when Brahma is a creator, why is he also subject to birth and death? Brahma is also a soul who has reached tremendously elevated consciousness. Thus, God has given him the position of Brahma to discharge the duties as a creator on God's behalf. But like all other living creatures, Brahma is also under the cycle of life and death. However, at the end of his tenure, he is liberated and goes to the abode of God. Sometimes, at the creation and dissolution of the world, when God does not find an eligible soul for the position of Brahma, God himself becomes Brahma. The cosmic play of the various planes of existence in the universe is astounding. The 14 worlds and their planetary systems undergo repeated cycles of Srishti, Sthiti, and Pralay, also known as creation, preservation, and dissolution. All planetary systems up to Maharlok are destroyed at the end of a kalp, that is Brahma's day of 4.32 billion years. This partial dissolution is called Naimitic Pralay. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that Brahma creates these worlds similar to a child playing with his toys. A child builds structures with his toys during the day and pulls them apart before going to bed at night. Similarly, when Brahma wakes up, he creates the planetary systems and their life forms and dissolves them before going to sleep. So that meme that we all are a part of a shitty science project belonging to some child might actually be true. Here's a story mentioned in the Bhagavad Puran, composed around 2000 to 2500 years ago. It tells the story of King Kakudmi, who had a beautiful daughter, Revati. He couldn't find a suitable husband for his daughter in the entire world. Concerned about finding a suitor, he took her to the realm of Brahma to seek advice. In Brahmalok, they waited briefly for an audience. When Brahma finally addressed them, he explained that during the short time they had spent in this realm, thousands of years had passed on earth. Civilizations had risen and fallen, and all potential suitors had long passed away. This story underscores the idea that time moves differently in various realms of existence, an early reflection of the principle later explored in the theory of relativity. Ultimately, Brahma advised King Kakudmi that the best match for Revati was Balram, the brother of Krishna. As they returned to a world entirely different from the one they had left. But hang on, we aren't done with Brahma's lifespan of 100 years yet. That isn't the highest measure of time. The entire universe dissolves at the end of Brahma's life of 100 years. At that moment, the whole material creation winds up. The Pancha Mahabhuta merge into the Panchatant Mantra, and the Panchatan Mantra merge into Ahankar. Ahankar merges into Mahan, and Mahan merges into Prakriti. Prakriti is the subtle form of Maya, the material energy of God. Maya now takes up her primordial form. She goes back into the body of the Supreme Lord. This great dissolution is called Prakrit Pralay or Mahapralay. When it is time for the next cycle of creation, Brahman glances at Prakriti, and by his mere glance, Prakriti starts unfolding herself again. From Prakriti, Mahan is created. From Mahan, Ahankar. Then from Ahankar, Panchatan Mantra are created. And from Panchatan Mantra, Pancha Mahabhutam is created. And by this process, unlimited universes are created again. Now, according to modern science, there are 100 billion stars in the Milky Way, and similar to the Milky Way, there are over a billion galaxies in the universe. Thus, scientists have concluded that in our universe, there are more than 10 followed by 20 zeros. That is the number of stars in our universe. However, the Vedas state that similar to our universe, there are infinite universes of various sizes and different features. These universes manifest from the body of Mahavishnu. Every time he breathes in, infinite universes are created from the pores of his divine body. And when he breathes out, they also dissolve again. Thus, one breath of Mahavishnu is equal to 100 years of Brahma's life. Also, all these universes have their own Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar. In the innumerable universes, there are innumerable Brahmas, Vishnus, and Shivas. This concept is illustrated in the story where Krishna reveals his universal form to Arjun, showing the vastness of creation. The image of Vishnu lying on the cosmic serpent Anant, which means infinite, with innumerable universes emanating from his pores, signify the infinite nature of creation. Again, it is important to note here that Mahavishnu is just another name used for Brahman by Vaishnavas. Shaivism sees Shiva as the ultimate reality. Other names from the Vedas and Upanishads include Sat, which means pure, Satchit Anand, which means existence, consciousness, and bliss, Aditi, the infinite, Akshar, the imperishable, and Anant, which means infinite. So the names differ, but the role is the same. This God is Nirgun and Nirakar, which means it is shapeless, formless, abstract, bodiless, beyond time and space. But in order to know him better in a tangible form, we give him different names like Vishnu, Shiv, Krishna, or Brahman. Now that we have stretched our minds across the cosmos, let's bring gravity to a more earthly matter, the Varna system or the caste system. After all, society, like the universe, has its own set of laws. Varna typically means a type, order, color, or class. It is a framework for grouping people into classes, first mentioned in the Rig Veda. It categorizes people into four main groups: Brahmins or Brahmans, which are the priests and the teachers; Kshatriyas, which are the warriors and the rulers; Vaishya, who are the merchants and traders; and Shudras, which are the laborers and service providers. Vaishnavas are the traditional sect who worship Vishnu. Vaishya is the Varna. Jati means birth, is mentioned less often in texts and clearly distinguished from Varna. There are four Varnas, but thousands of Jatis. The term caste is derived from the Portuguese word casta, meaning race, lineage, or breed. And originally not being an Indian word, it is now widely used in English and also in Indian languages, often incorrectly and interchangeably with Varna and Jati. Around 100 years ago, the sociologist Gurie wrote in his book Caste and Race in India: despite much study by many people, we do not possess a real general definition of caste. It appears to me that any attempt at definition is bound to fail because of all the complexity of the phenomenon. On the other hand, Much literature on the subject is marred by the lack of precision about the use of the term. The origins of Varna system can be traced back to the Rig Veda, which mentioned in the Purush Sukta. Purusha or Purush here means the supreme god. When they divided Purusha into how many parts did they arrange him? What became of his mouth? What of his arms? What were his thighs and feet called? The Brahmin was his mouth. Of his arms was made the Kshatriya. His thighs became the Vaishya. Of his feet, the Shudra was born. The Brahmin or priest symbolizes speech, knowledge, and wisdom. Kshatriya from the arms symbolizes strength and protection. Vaishya are merchants and farmers, denoting their role in supporting the economy through trade and agriculture. Shudra or laborers from the feet symbolize service and foundation of the society. Other mention in the Rig Veda includes we meditate on the revered teacher Brahmanspati, on the Lord of Kshatriyas, who brings joy to the Vaishya and brings support to the Shudra. This verse, while primarily a prayer, makes a general reference to the roles of the four Varnas in society: the Brahmin who sacrifices, the Kshatriya who fights, the Vaishya who trades, and the Shudra who serves. The Rig Veda does not explicitly elaborate on the Varna system. Neither does it clarify whether these roles are hereditary. In the Bhagavad Gita, though, chapter 4, verse 13, Krishna states, the four categories of these occupations, or varnas, were created by me according to people's qualities and activities. This classification was neither meant to be according to birth nor was it unchangeable. Further says, although I am creator of this system, know me to be the non doer and eternal. This is similar to rain, which is impartial and falls equally on the entire forest. In chapter 18, Krishna clearly says that the duties of a person in the Varn system are based on Swabhav Prabhava Airguna, that is, according to their gun or nature and qualities. The Varnas were meant to work according to one's karma and not by birth. So a Shudra, just by his karma, could rise up to the level of Brahmin, while a Brahmin, by his inaction, could stoop to the level of a Shudra. Later, the Manusmriti, or the laws of Manu, composed around 200 BC and 200 AD, came up with a detailed account of the ideal code of conduct for communities and society at large. Now, the Manusmriti is a controversial book. Over 50 manuscripts of the Manusmriti are now known. Modern scholars state that various manuscripts of the Manusmriti discovered in India are inconsistent with each other. Even a lot of stuff mentioned in one particular version can be inconsistent in itself. And many scholars believe that Manusmriti is one of the most corrupted texts in the sense that over the years it has lost its true essence, and many people have bastardized it to suit their own agendas. One of the most criticized aspects of the Manusmriti is its treatment of the lower caste, particularly the Shudras and the outcast. The text prescribes a life of servitude and subordination for Shudras and harsh penalties for those who defy the social order. The text also discusses the treatment of outcasts who are often considered untouchable. They are described as being outside the Varna system altogether, living on the fringes of society and engaging in menial or impure tasks. Its rigid and prescription for caste duties and social hierarchy have been always a source of controversy. Many modern thinkers and reformers, including Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, have criticized the text for its role in legitimizing the caste system and perpetuating social inequalities. That said, Manusmriti grew in prominence only after the occupation of Britishers in India. It was never followed to a T in Vedic society or even in early medieval India. David Buxbaum, in his book Family Law and Customary Law in Asia, a contemporary legal perspective, states, in the opinion of the best contemporary Orientalists, Manusmriti does not as a whole represent a set of rules ever actually administered in Hindustan. It is in great part an ideal picture of what which in a view of Brahmin ought to be law. Donald Davis, in the spirit of the Hindu law, writes, there is no historical evidence for either an active propagation or implementation of Dharma Shastra Manusmriti by a ruler or any state, as distinct from other forms of recognizing, respecting, and using the text. Thinking of Dharma Shastra as a legal code and of its authors as lawgivers is thus a serious misunderstanding of its history. Prior to British colonial rule in South Asia, Islamic law for Muslims was codified as Fatwa-e-Alamgiri, but laws for non-Muslims like Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains and Parsis was not codified, even in regions with centuries of Islamic law. For Muslims, the British accepted Sharia as the legal code, based on texts like the Al-Shirijiyya and Fatwa-e-Alamgiri. For Hindus and other non-Muslims, the British derived legal information from Manusmriti. Manusmriti became the first Dharma Shastra to be translated into English in 1794. However, the British officials mistook the Manusmriti for a code of law, failing to recognize it as a commentary on morals and law, not a statement on positive law. They also did not realize it was one of the many competing Dharma Shastra texts and had not been in use for centuries during the Islamic rule in India. In his book Islam and the Secular State Negotiating the Future of Sharia, Abdullahi Ahmad an Naim quotes the selectivity of the process whereby colonial authorities sought the assistance of Hindu and Muslim religious elites in understanding the law resulted in the Brahminization and Islamization of customary laws in British India. For example, the British Orientalist scholar William Jones translated the key text Al Sirjiya in 1792 as the Mohammedan law of inheritance and Manusmriti in 1794 as the Institute of Hindu Law or the Ordinances of Manu. In short, British colonial administrators reduced centuries of vigorous development of total ethical, religious, and social systems to fit their own preconceived European notions of what Muslim and Hindu law should be. And perhaps, if instead of Manusmriti, if the Britishers had used the Bhagavad Gita or even the Vedas to design the legal framework for Hindus, the modern Indian history might have been completely different. The intended purpose of the Varna system was meant to be a flexible division of labor based on individuals' abilities and roles in society. It aimed to ensure social order and harmony by assigning different societal functions to each group. Over time, the flexible and functional aspects of the Varna system became rigid and hereditary. The system solidified into a strict caste hierarchy or jati, where one's birth determined their social status, occupation, and marriage prospects. The caste system is officially abolished by the Indian Constitution, which guarantees equality and prohibits discrimination based on caste. Ironically, almost all political leaders in independent India have made sure caste system and caste based reservation remain an integral part of their political campaigns. Let's go back to one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. The Indus Valley civilization, the Aryan migration theory, and its alternate theories form a complex and debatable part of ancient Indian history, contributing to the understanding of early Hinduism and the subcontinent's cultural development. Also known as the Harappan civilization, the Indus Valley civilization flourished around 5000 to 6000 years ago in the northwestern regions of South Asia. It is one of the world's earliest urban civilizations, alongside those of Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. Cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and Dholavira exhibited advanced urban planning, grid-like street layouts, sophisticated drainage systems, and well-constructed brick houses. The earliest lingams, or the Shivling, found across the Indian subcontinent were first discovered during this time. Other deities included the worship of a mother goddess. In 1850, though, the Aryan migration theory was proposed, which says that around 1500 BC, Indo-European speaking nomadic tribes, referred to as Aryans, migrated into Indian subcontinent from Central Asia. This theory is formed on the linguistic similarities of the Indo-European languages. The Rig Veda mentions conflicts with indigenous people called Tasyus. The theory suggests that the interaction between the incoming Aryans and the indigenous people of the Indus Valley civilization led to the synthesis of the Vedic culture and early Hinduism. That said, the theory of white-skinned Aryans from Europe and Central Asia invading India and causing the demise of the Indus Valley civilization is in essence a racist theory. In fact, the darker-skinned Dravidians lived in the subcontinent much before that. Many historians even consider classical Tamil language, which is not part of the Indo European language family, to be older than Sanskrit. An alternate to the Aryan theory is the indigenous origin theory, which argues for the continuity between the Indus Valley civilization and later Vedic culture, suggesting that the Indus Valley people were the ancestors of the Vedic Aryans. Proponents point to genetic studies indicating minimal influx of Central Asian genes during the supposed period of Aryan migration. Then there is the out of India theory, which posits that the Indo European languages spread from India to other parts of Eurasia, reversing the direction of the Aryan migration theory. Advocates of this theory argue that the linguistic and archaeological evidence traditionally used to support the Aryan migration theory can also be interpreted to support an outward migration. Here's what I think. After Alexander's invasion of the Persian Empire and reaching up to modern day Punjab, his empire was divided amongst his successors, with Seleucus ruling most of the Middle East and modern day Pakistan. Later kingdoms such as the Greco-Bactrian and the Indo-Greek kingdoms saw Greek rulers but Indian subjects. Even Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the great Mauryan Empire, married Seleucus Nicetas' daughter, a Greek princess, as a marriage treaty. These periods could have seen the intermingling of cultures and religions between the Greeks and the Indians, and hence the many similarities in the Greek gods and the Indian Devas, along with similarities in certain epics as well, which I'll cover later in the series. So rather than one race invading and conquering the other, I see this as a gradual migration and intermingling of Greco Bactrians, the ancient Persians, along with Indians over time. Speaking of cultural influences, we must talk about the influence of Hinduism on Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. Hinduism, as one of the oldest religions in the world, has had a profound influence on the religious, philosophical, and cultural development of the Indian subcontinent. Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism are often seen as offshoots of the Hindu way of life, and each of them are known as dharmic religions. Each evolved distinct identities while retaining significant elements of Hindu thought and practice. Jainism emerged around the 6th century BC and is attributed to the teachings of Vardhaman Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankar, or the spiritual teacher. Jainism shares the concepts of karma and rebirth with Hinduism. Both religions believe in the cyclical nature of life, where one's actions influence future rebirths. While Hinduism advocates non-violence, Jainism elevates it to the highest principle. Jain ascetics practice extreme non-violence, including strict vegetarianism and avoiding harm to even the smallest creatures. Jainism emphasizes asceticism similar to the renunciation ideals in Hinduism. Jain monks and nuns lead lives of severe austerity to achieve liberation. Jainism does not believe in a creator god or an omnipotent deity. Instead, it teaches that the universe is eternal and operates according to its own laws. The focus is on the individual soul's path to moksha through self discipline and purification. The Tirthankars, such as Mahavir, are revered as spiritual teachers, but they are not gods. Jains enforce strict vegetarianism. They not only avoid meat but also root vegetables, for example, onions, garlics, and potatoes, to prevent harm to the microorganisms residing within the soil. Some Jains also practice veganism, avoiding dairy products due to the concerns about animal cruelty. Jain philosophy, alongside Buddhism, is considered Gnostic because of their rejection of the Vedas. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautam, known as the Buddha, in the 6th century BC. It emerged as a reform movement within the context of the Hindu society. Both religions share the belief in karma, the law of moral causation, and reincarnation. Karma of an individual in this lifetime will determine the future lives in both Hinduism and Buddhism. Buddhism also teaches that liberation from this samsara and achievement of nirvana is the ultimate spiritual goal of every individual soul. Meditation plays a central role in both Hinduism and Buddhism. Buddhist meditation practices such as vipassana and samatha are essential to achieve this liberation. Buddhism is generally non theistic and does not advocate the worship of gods. The Buddha did not teach about a creator god and focused instead on the individual's path to enlightenment. While some forms of Buddhism, particularly in the Mahayan traditions, involve the reverence of Bodhisattva, or enlightened beings, and the celestial Buddhas. These are not considered gods in the same sense as in Hinduism. In Buddhism, the path to nirvana involves the Eightfold Path, which includes right understanding, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. Liberation or nirvana is understood as the cessation of suffering or dukkha and the end of the cycle of birth and death. Unlike Hinduism, Buddhism rejects the notions of an eternal soul or Atman and instead teaches the doctrines of Ananta, which is the non self. Much like Jainism, Buddhism also rejects the Vedic rituals and sacrifices. Instead, rituals in Buddhism tend to be simpler and more focused on personal transformation. I have spoken in detail about why Buddha, despite being considered an avatar of Vishnu by the Hindus, still rejected the Vedas in the first part of the video, so feel free to check that out. Sikhism was founded by Guru Nanak in the 15th century AD in the Punjab region. He arose during a time of religious and social upheaval and incorporated the elements from both Hinduism and Islam while establishing its distinct identity. Sikhism emphasizes devotion or bhakti to one god, much like the bhakti movement within Hinduism, which advocates a personal and loving relationship with the divine. Both Hinduism and Sikhism share the belief in karma and reincarnation. In both religions, the action of one's individual determine their future lives and liberation from the cycle of birth and death. In Sikhism, liberation is called mukti and involves merging with Vaheguru, which means the supreme being or wonderful teacher. This is done through righteous living, devotion, and meditation. It is a monotheistic religion, and the concept of Vaheguru parallels the concept of Brahman in Hinduism, which is formless, infinite, and the all encompassing reality. The primary scripture of Sikhism is the Guru Granth Sahib, a collection of hymns and teachings of the Sikh Gurus. It is considered that the living Guru is central to the Sikh worship and spiritual life. Sikhs also respect the Dasham Granth, a secondary scripture attributed to Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru. Sikhism emphasizes on the teachings of the Gurus parallel to the Hindu tradition of Guru Shishya or teacher and student relationship, where spiritual knowledge is passed down through a lineage of teachers. Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, while distinct in their doctrines and practices, emerged within the cultural and religious aspect of Hinduism. Each of these religions retains core Hindu concepts such as karma, rebirth, and meditation, but diverges in their interpretation and social practices. Imagine you're in ancient India. The air is thick with incense, and under the shade of a banyan tree, sages argue for hours. They're not debating politics or money, they're wrestling with the deepest questions of existence. What is real? What is the self? How do we escape suffering? Indian philosophy represents one of the world's most sophisticated and diverse intellectual traditions, spanning over 3 millennia of continuous development. Rather than a single unified system, it comprises multiple schools of thought that have debated fundamental questions about reality, knowledge, ethics, and liberation. These philosophical traditions are divided into two major categories based on their relationship to the Vedas. The orthodox schools or Astic accept Vedic authority and generally acknowledge Brahman as ultimate reality, while the heterodox or Gnostic schools reject Vedic authority and often propose alternative understandings of existence itself. Let's walk through them one by one. Nyaya is the school of logic. It tells us how to separate truth from illusion and lays down the methods of correct reasoning. Basically, how we know what we know. Without Nyaya, philosophy is just opinion. Nyaya gives it a structure. A famous quote from the Nyaya school attributed to Gautama is, "Valid knowledge is the true apprehension of an object." Vaisheshika complemented this by creating detailed categories for understanding reality, proposing that everything consists of indivisible atoms long before similar ideas emerged in Greek philosophy. It classifies existence, substance, qualities, actions, like an ancient version of physics. Samkhya presented a dualistic worldview, distinguishing between consciousness, Purusha, and matter, Prakriti, arguing that suffering arises from confusing these two fundamental principles. Freedom comes when you realize you are Purusha. the witness, untouched by matter. Yoga built upon Samkhya's theoretical foundation by offering practical techniques for achieving the separation these philosophers described. The eight limbed path of yoga provides systematic methods progressing from ethical restraints through physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation practices, ultimately leading to samadhi or absorbed consciousness, where the practitioner realizes their true nature as pure awareness. More on yoga later in the video. Mimamsa, also known as Purva Mimamsa, turns the spotlight on ritual and duty. It says the Vedas aren't just texts, they're instructions for keeping cosmic order alive. By living dharma and performing rituals correctly, you align yourself with the universe. Then there is Vedanta, also known as Uttar Mimamsa, which focuses on metaphysics, spirituality, and the nature of Brahman. Vedanta means the end of Veds. It focuses on the philosophical teachings found in the Upanishads, particularly the nature of the Brahman, Atman, and the relationship between them. Different subschools of Vedanta interpret these concepts differently, such as Advait, Vishishtadvait, and Dvait, non-dualism, qualified non-dualism, and dualism. It is based on the teachings found in the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Advait Vedant or non-dualism was a concept championed by Adi Shankaracharya. The core belief is that there is no distinction between the Brahman, which is the supreme reality, and Atman, which is the individual soul. They are ultimately one and the same. The world is considered Maya or an illusion, and moksha is achieved through realization of this non-dual nature. It is hard to wrap your brain around the fact that your soul or Atman is the same as the Supreme Soul or Brahman. It is even harder to accept that every soul in the universe is the same. Tat Tvamasi. You are that. You are Hitler. You are the Jews that he killed. You are everyone who exists and will exist. Now consider this analogy. Your body is made up of trillions of cells. Yet, when you look at each individual cell, would you see it as an individual or would you see it as a part of you? Advait Vedanta does not discriminate between the individual cell, in this case the individual soul, and the whole self or the supreme soul. We are mere cells getting to know ourselves and our whole self at the same time. When your brain cells read about the functions of a brain, is it getting to know itself on an individual scale or is it getting to know itself as a whole? That said, every cell has a duty that it must do in order for the cell to survive and for the individual being to live on as well. Similarly, we must identify and do our dharma. Maybe our universe is just an atom in a being so titanic it's beyond our imagination. That being might just be a person in an entire universe in itself. Quantum physics has this concept called wave-particle duality. Light is considered both a wave and a particle until it is observed. The act of observation affects the state of the quantum system, as seen in the double slit experiment. This resonates with Advait Vedant's notion that our perception of duality is a product of the mind, and the theory that we are just a means for the universe to know itself may be true. Quantum physics posits that particles can influence each other instantaneously over vast distances, challenging the classical idea of separation. This echoes Advait Vedant's teachings that the distinction between individual consciousness and universal consciousness is just an illusion. The way light is both wave and particle, in the same vein, you are both Atman and Brahman, and thus the famous quote, Aham Brahmasmi. Vishishtadvait Vedanta, which means qualified non-dualism, which was championed by Ramanuja. This philosophy says that Brahman is the only reality, but the individual soul and the universe are real and distinct yet inseparable parts of Brahman. Liberation is achieved through devotion to Brahman, often worshipped as Vishnu. Madhvacharya championed the Dvait or dualistic school of Vedanta. There is a fundamental difference between the Brahman, the God, and the individual soul, or the Jeevas, and the material world. God, often depicted as Vishnu, is supreme, and liberation is achieved through devotion and grace. The Gnostic schools do not accept the authority of the Vedas or the concept of Brahman, and they are considered heterodox in Indian philosophical tradition. First among the Gnostic schools is Charvak. These were the ultimate materialists. They rejected the idea of an afterlife, karma, and any spiritual realms, advocating for living life to the fullest in the present moment. A famous Charvak saying is, "While life is yours, live joyously. None can escape the reach of death's all embracing arm. When once this body is burnt, how can it ever return?" Next is Jainism, founded by Mahavir. It emphasizes extreme non-violence towards all living beings, asceticism, and self-control as the path to liberation. A core teaching of Jainism is Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. Non-violence is the supreme religion. Then we have Buddhism. It teaches the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path to overcome suffering and achieve nirvana. A cornerstone of Buddhist thought is do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. Another fascinating Gnostic school was Ajivik. They were extreme determinists, believing that everything is predetermined by destiny and free will is an illusion. They believed that liberation would happen automatically after a fixed number of rebirths. While less known today, their ideas were quite impactful in ancient India. A key Ajivik tenet was that human effort is useless. And finally, let's talk about Agyan. These were the ultimate skeptics and agnostics. They believed that it was impossible to gain reliable knowledge about metaphysical truths or the ultimate nature of things. For them, any definitive statement about the afterlife or reality itself was pure speculation. A central tenet of Agyan was do not speak of what you do not know. They advocated for a suspension of judgment, believing that knowledge of these matters was unattainable. Adi Shankaracharya was born in Kaladi, Kerala. He was a child prodigy who mastered the Vedas by the age of 8. He is the foremost exponent of the Advaita Vedanta. His works include commentaries on the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras. He played a crucial role in reviving Hinduism at a time when Buddhism and Jainism were dominant in India. The modern day Hindu tradition of Smartism, which incorporates the best of Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism, is a gift of Adi Shankaracharya. He reformed Hinduism by consolidating various schools of thoughts and established monasteries or mutts that still play a vital role today. Adi Shankaracharya did more to unite Hindus than any other spiritual leader. Before him, there were several instances of skirmishes between Vaishnavas and Shaivites throughout the subcontinent. In fact, Jainism and Buddhism were spreading fast as several kingdoms adopted them as state religions. Adi Shankara's tradition of Smarta brought the best of Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, and adding Ganesh and Surya into the fold as well. And how does one bring together different attributes of Vishnu, Shiv, and Shakti? He went back to the Upanishads and highlighted concepts such as Tattvam Asi, an idea which in itself is the unity of the soul with every other soul. Smarta tradition, along with Advait by Adi Shankara, was indeed one of the smartest things by any leader. And if not for him, maybe, just maybe, Hinduism could have been divided in the same vein as the Shias and Sunni are in Islam, or the way Catholics and Protestants are in Christianity. Born as Narendranath Datta in Kolkata, Vivekanand was a disciple of the mystic saint Ramakrishna Paramhans. Swami Vivekanand played a crucial role in introducing Hinduism to the global stage, particularly at the 1893 Parliament of World's Religions in Chicago. His powerful speech, beginning with Sisters and Brothers of America, emphasized universality and inclusiveness of Hinduism, earning him widespread admiration. Vivekanand highlighted Hinduism's core philosophy of Vedanta and Yoga, presenting them as practical systems for spiritual and personal growth. He spoke about religious harmony, asserting that all paths lead to the same truth, and advocated for the unity of all religions. After returning to India, he founded the Ramakrishna Mission, named after his guru, which spread spiritual teachings and social service globally. His efforts sparked Western interest in Hindu spirituality, influencing a generation of seekers and intellectuals. Vivekananda's message of tolerance, interconnectedness, and the oneness of humanity established Hinduism as a respected and universal tradition on the global stage. Born in Tamil Nadu, Ramanuja was deeply influenced by the teachings of his guru Yamunacharya. Ramanuja is the principal proponent of Vishishtadvait, or qualified non-dualism, which is similar to Advait but posits that the individual soul, or Jeev Atman, and Brahman are distinct, but it is also connected to him as a part of his divine existence. He challenged rigid caste practices and promoted equality within the spiritual path, making religious devotion accessible to all. His influence extended far beyond religious philosophy, encouraging social reform and inclusivity in the Hindu tradition. Today, his legacy continues to inspire devotion within the Vaishnava tradition, especially in South India. Born near Udupi in Karnataka, Madhvacharya showed early signs of spiritual and intellectual brilliance. Madhvacharya founded the Dvait school of Vedanta. Unlike Advait and Vishishtadvait, Madhvacharya's philosophy emphasized a clear distinction between the individual soul and God, with God being the ultimate independent reality. He established the famous Udupi Krishna temple and initiated the Ashthamat, or the 8 monasteries, to promote his teachings. Madhvacharya's teachings continue to resonate within the Dvait tradition, especially in the state of Karnataka. Swami Dayanand Saraswati was a prominent Hindu reformer and the founder of Arya Samaj in 1875. He aimed to purify Hinduism by returning to the teaching of the Vedas, which he saw as the original and the true foundation of the faith. Rejecting idol worship, rituals, and superstitions, he promoted monotheism and emphasized rationality in the religion. Arya Samaj sought to uplift society through education, social reform, and the promotion of gender equality. It played a crucial role in the spread of the Vedic knowledge, the abolition of the practices like child marriage and sati, and the promotion of widow remarriage. The Arya Samaj continues to be a significant force in religious and social reform in India. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a revered saint and the founder of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. He emphasized the path of Bhakti Yoga, particularly devotion to Lord Krishna, and promoted the chanting of the holy names as the easiest and the most effective means to attain spiritual liberation in the current age, or the Kali Yuga. His teachings focus on the ecstatic love of God, known as Prem Bhakti, and he is considered as an incarnation of both Krishna and Radha by his followers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence spread across Bengal and Odisha. Chaitanya's devotional movement led to the establishment of the ISKCON society in the 20th century. Baswa was a philosopher and statesman who spearheaded the Lingayat movement in Karnataka. He rejected caste hierarchies, ritualism, and idol worship, advocating instead for the worship of Lord Shiva in the form of a simple linga, which symbolized the universal presence of God. Baswa emphasized moral integrity, social equality, and the direct relationship between the devotee and God. His teachings laid the foundation of the Lingayat sect, which continues to promote social reform and egalitarian principles in South India. Hindu reform movements have played a crucial role in addressing social injustices, modernizing religious practices, and promoting education and equality. Other key movements include the Pratna Samaj, Theosophical Society, Brahmo Samaj, Satya Shodhak Samaj, among others. This has led to a modern revival and global spread of Hinduism, which was significantly influenced by several key figures and movements. Let's have a look at some. Popularly known as the Hare Krishna due to their chant, ISKCON, or the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, was founded in 1966 in New York City by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The primary mission of ISKCON is to promote the teachings of Lord Krishna as presented in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavad Puran, emphasizing the practice of Bhakti Yoga, or devotion to God. ISKCON quickly spread worldwide, establishing temples, educational institutions, and cultural centers in over 100 countries. The movement popularized the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and public festivals, significantly influencing the Western perception of Hinduism. ISKCON is also known for its charitable activities, including food distribution programs like the Food for Life. In recent times, Jaggi Vasudev, popularly known as Sadhguru, has gained a massive following in the West. His appearances on several podcasts and programs has garnered wide-scale attention among the New Age spiritual seekers. Sadhguru is known for his ability to articulate complex spiritual concepts in a contemporary context, appealing to a global audience. He has spoken at international forums including the United Nations and the World Economic Forum as well. Sadhguru founded the Isha Foundation in 1992, which offers a variety of programs aimed at promoting individual well-being and spiritual growth. One of the foundation's flagship program, Inner Engineering, combines aspects of yoga, meditation, and practical wisdom to enhance personal and spiritual development. The Isha Foundation also engages in various social and environmental initiatives, including the Rally for Rivers campaign and the Save the Soil campaign, amongst others. Osho, or Bhagwan Rajneesh as he is known by his followers, has always been a complex and controversial guru. Often labeled as the sex guru, his teachings have gained huge popularity over the past couple of years in the form of Instagram and TikTok reels, and he has always been a divisive figure, so much that his philosophy deserves a video of its own. But let me try summarizing it. Born as Rajneesh Chandra Mohan Jain in 1931, Osho's philosophy is a cocktail of Charvak, Buddhism, Jainism, and the Bhagavad Gita. His teachings encompass a wide range of topics, including meditations, love, creativity, and the celebration of life itself. He is known for his eccentric and eclectic approach, integrating insights from various spiritual traditions. He developed numerous meditation techniques such as the dynamic meditation, which are designed to help individuals release pent-up emotions and achieve inner silence. His establishment of the Rajneeshpuram commune in Oregon attracted significant media attention. Despite controversies, his works continue to inspire followers worldwide. Osho's books and recorded talks remain popular, and his ashram in Pune attracts visitors from around the globe. Other notable figures include Paramhans Yoganand, who introduced millions to the teachings of Kriya Yoga and the spiritual traditions of India through his book Autobiography of a Yogi. Sri Aurobindo and the mother Mira Alfasa established the Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry and developed the philosophy of integral yoga, aiming at the transformation of human consciousness. Then there's Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, often termed as the Beatles Guru. He popularized transcendental meditation, a simple technique that gained widespread popularity in the West, attracting celebrities and large-scale followers. Jittu Krishnamurti was an eminent writer and speaker on philosophical and spiritual issues, including physiological revolution, the nature of the human mind, consciousness, and evolution. His teachings on meditations, human relationships brought about a positive social change. Then there is Neem Karoli Baba, who was a revered spiritual teacher who attracted global following, including many celebrities. Notable figures like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, and Julia Roberts sought guidance and inspiration from his teachings, highlighting Baba's profound influence on individuals from diverse backgrounds. Now, there are so many gurus in India, it is obvious to wonder, why do so many people in the subcontinent seek gurus and godmen? The tradition of following a guru is deeply embedded in Indian culture and history. From ancient times, spiritual seekers have sought the guidance of enlightened teachers. There is a famous verse which describes the guru as the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Guru, for a student, is considered to be more than God himself. In the Gita, Krishna tells his friend Arjun to find a guru, a spiritual master who has unlocked the secrets of the universe. He says, "Approach this enlightened teacher with respect and be a humble student. We have seen the truth and can guide you." By following a guru's teachings, you'll realize that all living beings, even those who have made mistakes, are connected to a higher power. The guru's divine knowledge is like a boat that can carry you across the ocean of confusion and suffering in this world. Just as fire turns wood to ash, the wisdom a guru shares can burn away all the negativity and burdens you are carrying from your past actions. Their teachings will set you free. So don't wander aimlessly any longer. Find your spiritual guide and be open to the timeless wisdom. The answers you have been searching for are within reach. All you have to do is take the first step on the journey. A guru is someone who has mastered the Sanskrit language, the Vedas, and the Upanishads, and all the vast scriptures of Hinduism. Hence, it is said that one must always seek a guru to learn the Vedas and the Upanishads. They are essential in order to understand the core, should something be misinterpreted or lost in translation. Following a guru and being a part of a spiritual community provides a sense of belonging and identity, which brings us to ashrams. Ashrams provide a peaceful and supportive environment where individuals can retire from the distractions of everyday life to focus on their spiritual practices. Ashrams foster a sense of community, offering support and encouragement to fellow spiritual seekers. While many gurus and ashrams offer genuine spiritual guidance, there is a fine line that can lead to a cult like behavior. Some signs of a cult like behavior include that the guru demands absolute loyalty and obedience, often discouraging independent thought or questioning. There can also be financial, emotional, or physical exploitation of followers under the guise of spiritual growth. Some other signs include encouraging followers to isolate themselves from family, friends, and society to maintain control and influence. And one of the most popular techniques include using fear to control followers, such as threats or spiritual consequences for disobedience or leaving the group. Hence, it is important to recognize these signs before following a particular guru or joining any ashram. Yoga for a majority of people means another form of exercise. Yoga is more than just physical exercise though. It is a holistic practice aimed at harmonizing body, mind, and spirit. It helps individuals achieve balance, inner peace, and higher consciousness. Through physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation, yoga promotes overall well being, mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual growth. It also plays a crucial role in stress reduction and healing, making it a transformative practice for modern lifestyles. The term yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yugna, means to unite or to yoke, symbolizing the union of the individual self with the universal consciousness. Its earliest mention is found in the Rig Veda, though its comprehensive philosophy was later elaborated in the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yoga practices began during the Vedic period as rituals and meditations aimed at reaching God. The practice evolved to include physical postures or asanas, breath control or pranayam, and meditation, also known as dhyan. For example, do you know pranayam is just the fasting of breath? It has four components. Purak, which is the process of drawing the breath into the lungs. Antarkumbhak, which is holding the breath in the lungs after inhalation. The outgoing breath gets suspended in the incoming breath during the period of suspension. Rechak is the process of emptying the lungs of breath. Bahaya Kumbhak means keeping the lungs empty after exhalation. The incoming breath gets suspended in the outgoing breath during the period of suspension. Both fasting of the breath and fasting of food are practices to tame the senses and bring the mind into focus. Now you know why people fast on auspicious days and festivals. And so we must fast our breath as well by performing pranayam and yoga. The Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita delve into the spiritual aspects of yoga, emphasizing self realization and union with the divine. The Bhagavad Gita introduces three main parts of yoga: Karma Yoga, which is the path of selfless action, Bhakti Yoga, which is the path of devotion, and Jnana Yoga, which is the path of knowledge. And a small mention of Raja Yoga or Raj Yoga as well, which is the royal path, and which I'll be talking about momentarily. And then there's the famous Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The Patanjali text was composed around 2200 years ago. It systemized yoga into the Eightfold Path or the Ashtanga Yoga, that which we know of in the modern times. These 8 limbs include the ethical guidelines or the niyams. In recent times, yoga has gained a massive following, especially in countries outside India as well, but only in the form of asanas and pranayams. True yoga is yet to be realized by people not just in the West but in India itself. Ayurveda, often referred to as science of life, is an ancient Indian system of medicine that dates back over 3000 years. It is documented in the Vedas, especially in the Atharva Veda. Ayurveda offers a holistic approach to health and wellness by focusing on the balance of mind, body, and spirit. Ayurveda is centered around the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether that constitute the universe and the human body. According to Ayurveda, the 3 doshas or dosh represent the combinations of these 5 elements and govern all biological functions. Vat, Pitta, and Kapha are the 3 foundational dosh. Each dosh is associated with certain elements and characteristics, and an individual's unique constitution is a combination of these 3 dosh in different degrees. Here's a brief overview. Vat includes the elements of air and ether as in space. Vat is associated with movement, creativity, lightness, and dryness. It governs functions such as breathing, circulation, and the nervous system. A person with a Vata dominant constitution may be energetic, enthusiastic, and quick thinking, but may also be prone to anxiety, restlessness, and dryness when imbalanced. Then there is Pitta, which has the elements of fire and water. Pitta is related to heat, metabolism, digestion, and transformation. It governs body temperature and intelligence along with digestion. People with Pitta dominant constitution tend to be focused, sharp, and determined. But when imbalanced, they may become irritable, angry, and suffer from inflammation or digestive issues. And then there is Kapha, which has the elements of earth and water. It is associated with structure, stability, and lubrication. It governs the body's immunity and fluid balance. Those with a Kapha dominant constitution are often calm, grounded, and nurturing. But when imbalanced, they can become lethargic, overly attached, and may struggle with weight gain and congestion. In Ayurveda, health is achieved by balancing these dosh through diet, lifestyle, and natural remedies tailored to one specific constitution. When these dosh are out of balance, it can lead to various physical and emotional health issues. Ayurvedic therapy is usually known as Panchakarma, which aims at balancing these dosh. The foundational text of Ayurveda include the Charhak Samhita, which means focused on internal medicine, the Shushrut Samhita, which emphasizes surgery, and Ashtang Hridaya, a compilation of the previous works. Ayurveda is important not only as a traditional system of medicine, but also as a philosophy of living. It emphasizes prevention over cure and promotes balance in daily life through proper diet and mental practices. In recent times, Ayurveda has a profound impact on the wellness industry, offering natural remedies, detoxification practices, rejuvenation therapies, and a form of alternate medicine as well. Both yoga and Ayurveda, rooted in ancient Indian wisdom, have transcended culture and geographical boundaries to become globally recognized practices. Speaking of which, there are 4 primary yogic paths in order for one to reach liberation or moksha, each suited to different temperaments and inclinations. These include Gyan, Bhakti, Karma, and Raja. Gyan Yoga, or the path of knowledge, focuses on the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom to realize the self's true nature and achieve liberation. Practitioners engage in deep self-inquiry or Atma Vichar to distinguish the true self, which is the Atman, from the ego and the material world of Maya. Jnana yogis study sacred texts such as the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras, which elucidate the nature of reality and the self. Scriptural knowledge is used as a guide for contemplation and understanding. Practitioners cultivate discrimination or vivek between the real and the unreal, between the eternal and the temporary. They develop dispassion or vairagya towards worldly desires and attachments, focusing only on the pursuit of truth. Regular meditation and contemplation are essential practices to internalize knowledge and experience the unity of Atman and Brahman. Techniques such as Neti Neti, not this, are used to negate false identities and realize that you are more than what you think you are. Then there's Bhakti Yoga, or the path of devotion, which emphasizes love and devotion towards a personal God as the means to attain spiritual liberation. Bhakti yogis cultivate intense love and devotion for their chosen deity, Ishta Devta. More on that momentarily. These deities might include Krishna, Ram, Shiva, Ganesh, or any Devi. This devotion is expressed through prayers, chanting, singing hymns or bhajans, and participating in rituals. Practitioners surrender their ego and will to the divine, trusting that the deity will guide them to liberation. Surrender is seen as a way to transcend the ego and experience divine grace. Bhakti Yoga fosters a personal, intimate relationship with the deity, often viewing the deity as a friend, a parent, sometimes even as a child, or a beloved lover. This relationship becomes the central focus of the devotee's life. Selfless service to others, known as seva, is seen as a service to God Himself and is an important aspect of Bhakti Yoga. Acts of kindness, charity, and community service are performed with the attitude of serving the divine in all beings. Karma Yoga, or the path of selfless action, involves performing one's duty and actions without attachment to the results, dedicating them to the divine, also known as Nishkam Karma. Karma yogis maintain detachment from the outcomes of their actions, focusing on the process rather than the result. This attitude helps them remain balanced regardless of success or failure. Fulfilling one's duties and responsibilities with dedication and integrity is central to Karma Yoga. This also includes duty towards family, society, the self, and the divine. In the Gita, Krishna recommends Arjun, who is a warrior, that the ideal path for him amongst all the four yogas is Karma Yoga. Because being a soldier, a warrior, his duty is to fight and not focus on the result of the fight. In modern day, Karma Yoga can be suitable for sportsmen, where their only aim should be to focus on the process of playing the sport rather than focusing on the victory or the result of the match. It can also be suitable for artists, where their only focus should be to create art and not focus on whether it will make them money. That said, Karma Yoga is very similar to Stoicism, and which we'll explore in the third part of the series. Then there is Raj Yoga, or the royal path. It emphasizes mental discipline and meditation as the primary means to attain spiritual enlightenment. It is often associated with Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, or involves the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. Some of the key features include non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy, non-greed, purity, self-study, physical postures for health and stability, regulation of the breath to control the life force, detaching the mind from external sensory inputs, focusing the mind on a single point, which is concentration, deep and uninterrupted meditation, and the state of union with the divine or the self. Raj Yoga differs from the other yogic paths in its focus on mental control and meditation rather than action or devotion. While all these paths are distinct, they are often integrated in practice. Many spiritual traditions advocate a balanced approach, incorporating elements from all the yogic paths to suit an individual's temperament and circumstances. There is the Gyan Bhakti integration, where knowledge and devotion can complement each other, where intellectual understanding deepens devotion and enriches the pursuit of knowledge. Then there's the Karma Bhakti integration, where selfless action is performed with a sense of devotion and love for the divine, enhancing spiritual significance of daily work and duties. And we all realize that sometimes we indulge in meditation, sometimes we are so focused on our work, we do not care about the results. Then we take some time and devote ourselves to God in temples and do bhakti during festivals. At the same time, we seek knowledge. So each path addresses different aspects of your nature and provides a comprehensive approach to achieving union. Kumbh Mela is one of the largest and the most significant religious festival in Hinduism. It is a mass pilgrimage in which millions of Hindus gather to bathe in a sacred river. The festival is marked by its grandeur, spiritual significance, and the participation of sadhus or holy men, along with pilgrims and visitors from around the world. Kumbh Mela occurs every 12 years at 4 chosen different locations in India, rotating among them in a cycle. These locations are Prayagraj, which is a confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, and the Saraswati river. Then there's Haridwar, which is on the banks of Ganga. Then there's Ujjain, which is on the banks of Shipra, and Nashik, which is on the banks of Godavari. Each of these sites will host a Kumbh Mela every 12 years with a specific sequence and interval. The Mahakumbh Mela occurs after 12 Kumbh Melas, which means it occurs once in 144 years, only at Prayagraj. The Ardha Kumbh Mela occurs every 6 years, between 2 Kumbh Melas, and it will occur at either Prayagraj or Haridwar. The Purna Kumbh Mela or the full Kumbh Mela will occur every 12 years at each of the 4 locations. And then there is a smaller version of the Kumbh Mela known as the Magh Mela, which is an annual event at Prayagraj. The timing of the Kumbh Mela is determined by the alignment of the Sun, Moon, and the planet Jupiter in a specific zodiac position, making it an astrological event. But why does the Kumbh Mela happen? The origin of the Kumbh Mela is rooted in the story of Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean, where the Devas and the Asurs fought for the Kumbh, which means a pot containing the nectar of immortality. It is believed that drops of nectar fell from this pot or Kumbh at these 4 specific locations where the Kumbh Mela is held, sanctifying the waters and making them auspicious for purifying one's sin. The Mela brings together people from diverse backgrounds, regions, and sects, showcasing the unity and cultural richness of Hinduism. It is also a festival for a major gathering of sadhus from different traditions and sects. The reference of Kumbh Mela dates back to ancient texts like the Purans. In 2017, Kumbh Mela was inscribed on the UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, recognizing its historical importance. It is a profound expression of Hindu faith and is a time for purification, reflection, and unity. Stay tuned till the very end as we plunge into the final 2 levels of the iceberg, where I'll uncover mind blowing stories and bizarre urban legends that will completely transform the way you see the world. You won't want to miss these revelations. Let's continue diving deep into the Hinduism iceberg. The first 2 things that come across our mind upon hearing the word Tantra is either sex or black magic. In India, these practices are sometimes associated with what is colloquially termed as witchcraft, aimed at influencing or controlling reality in ways that seem mysterious. And while we'll explore these 2 tantric ideas as well, it is first important to understand the complex spiritual tradition of Tantra, which is not just part of Hinduism but plays a major role in Buddhism as well. The word Tantra is derived from the Sanskrit root tan, meaning to expand, weave, or stretch. It refers to a wide array of esoteric teachings. Esoteric here means very unusual and understood or liked by only a small number of people. Tantra emphasizes the interconnectedness of the universe, the body, and the consciousness. It often revolves around the interplay of Shiva, which is considered as the pure consciousness, and Shakti, which is considered to be his primordial energy. This dynamic is seen as the fundamental duality that pervades the universe, and the aim is to harmonize or unite these forces within oneself. And unlike some ascetic traditions, particularly Vedic schools of thoughts, Tantra views the body and material existence not as obstacles, but as tools for spiritual development. While we often think the body is simple and the mind is all that matters, it's not quite that straightforward. The body, in its wisdom, has the ability to take care of itself. It doesn't need you to run the thousands of complex biological operations running beneath your skin. But can you see the same about your mind and soul? Are they nurturing themselves with the same natural ease? This perspective invites us to reconsider our relationship with our physical selves. Instead of viewing the body as inferior to the mind, we can recognize its innate wisdom and simplicity. By doing so, we open ourselves to a more holistic understanding of spirituality, one that embraces both the physical and the metaphysical aspects of our existence. The body is considered a microcosm of the universe, and by understanding it, one can comprehend the cosmos itself. Every being has three types of bodies. At the base is the causal body, which is the spiritual body, also known as the soul. Covering that is the subtle body, which is the astral body. This body is made up of subtle elements that are not physical or material. It is composed of mind, intellect, vital breaths, and the vital life force. And then there's the gross body, which we see, which is made up of the five elements known as earth, air, water, fire, and ether. So, Tantra specifically focuses on the subtle body and the energy centers known as chakras. These chakras align along the spine, each representing different physical, emotional, and spiritual states. The word chakra means wheel, symbolizing how energy spins within these centers. There are 7 main chakras at the base of the spine to the crown. Each chakra is associated with specific elements, colors, and functions. And then there are channels or nadis, which carry the prana or the life force throughout the body, similar to how veins carry blood. There are 72,000 nadis, but 3 primary ones are the moon energy or the left channel, the right channel, which is the sun energy, and the central channel. The balance of these nadis is crucial for spiritual and physical well-being. And every subtle body has this dormant spiritual energy, which is known as Kundalini. It is coiled at the base of the spine. When awakened through meditation or yoga, this energy travels up to the chakras, leading to the higher state of consciousness. The process is believed to bring about spiritual enlightenment and deep awareness. Awakening Kundalini is considered a profound spiritual event, but it requires careful guidance, as improper awakening can lead to physical, emotional, or psychological disturbances. The interaction between chakras, nadis, and Kundalini energy is central to the Tantric school, and sometimes even in a lot of yogic practices as well. But how does one do that? There are several practices, often including the use of sacred sounds, which are the mantras, and the geometric designs, which are the yantras, along with elaborate rituals as well. These tools are used to invoke specific energies or deities and to focus the mind during meditation. Tantric practices are broadly classified into 2 types, the left hand and the right hand. The right hand path is the Dakshin Marg or the Southern Marg, and the left hand path is known as the Vama Marg or Vamachar. The right hand path focuses on more orthodox rituals. Practicing yoga, breathing techniques, and meditation can help activate Kundalini. Moreover, maintaining a positive attitude and living in greater awareness can also help awaken the Kundalini. The left hand path involves more unorthodox practices, including ritualistic engagement with taboo elements such as alcohol, meat, and sexuality. This is meant to transcend the duality of the right and wrong in order to reach higher state of consciousness. Some say that signs of Kundalini awakening include crisis, severe health problems, or a feeling that life is not quite right. We'll talk about more of these taboo practices when we discuss the Aghori Babas and the Naga Sadhus. But it is important to understand many people associate Tantra solely with sexual practices. But this is only a small aspect of the tradition within the left hand path. In reality, Tantra covers a broad range of spiritual practices. In today's age, people conveniently leave aside the profound, difficult spiritual purpose of Tantra and handpick conveniently the left hand path to indulge in the pleasure of the self. Its holistic view, which incorporates the body, energy, and mind, continues to resonate with both the traditional and the modern spiritual seekers, especially due to the various subsects within Tantra or the Kaulas. But before exploring those, I want to talk about the mind-boggling school of Kashmir Shaivism, also known as Tantric Shaivism. In the beautiful valleys of Kashmir, nestled among the snow-capped Himalayas, a profound spiritual tradition blossomed thousands of years ago. This tradition offers a captivating vision of reality that sees the entire universe as a manifestation of divine consciousness. At its heart, Kashmir Shaivism asserts that Shiva is the supreme deity. But there are 2 primary schools of Shaivism, 3 if you consider the Lingayat sect as well. One being Kashmir Shaivism, Second is the Shaiv Siddhant, which is the most widely followed tradition throughout the Shaivism sect. It is a dualistic school and it sees Shiva as a deity residing in some faraway realm, meaning it views the soul, which is the Atman, as distinct from Shiva, the supreme god. The soul seeks union with Shiva through devotion, bhakti, rituals, and discipline. In this tradition, you work towards merging with Shiva. In contrast, Kashmir Shaivism is non dualistic, or rather monistic. It teaches that you are already one with Shiva, you just need to realize it. You don't need to merge because the oneness is already there, hidden beneath the surface. Here, Shiva symbolizes universal consciousness, the ground of all beings. Everything in the universe is seen as a manifestation or a play of Shiva's divine energy known as Shakti. This dynamic interplay between Shiva, the pure consciousness, and Shakti, the creative energy, is the basis of the entire cosmos. In Shaiv Siddhant, you are like a river flowing towards the ocean of Shiva to eventually merge. In Kashmir Shaivism, you can think of Shiva as the ocean and the universe, including all the people, objects, and experiences, as waves on this ocean. The waves seem distinct, but they are always part of the same ocean. Similarly, everything in existence is seen as an expression of the divine consciousness, even though it may appear separate. When a pot is made of clay, the pot may seem as a distinct object, but it is clay after all. Even before it was molded into a pot, it was clay. It's clay also as a pot, and it will be clay even if we break the pot apart. In the same sense, Shiva is the essence of the entirety of creation. This concept is somewhat similar to Advaita Vedanta in that both traditions assert that the ultimate oneness of existence. More on that in a moment. The exact origins of Kashmir Shaivism are shrouded in mystery, more so because it is an esoteric tradition, much like Tantra. In fact, Kashmir Shaivism is a part of the Tantra philosophy, the way Advaita is a part of the Vedanta philosophy, or other schools like Mimamsa or Samkhya are a part of the Vedic philosophy. Also, one couldn't learn Kashmir Shaivism unless one was initiated by a guru, because it has advanced mantras and practices. As a distinct philosophical school, it began to take shape around the 8th and the 9th century in the Kashmir region of northern India. This was a time of great intellectual and spiritual ferment in Kashmir. The region was a melting pot of various philosophical and religious traditions, including Tantra, Buddhism, and other different schools of Hinduism. And out of this rich cultural potluck, Kashmir Shaivism emerged as a unique synthesis. Some of the most influential thinkers of this period include Vasugupta, who is credited with receiving the revelation of the Shiva Sutras, a foundational text. Perhaps the most renowned philosopher of this tradition is Abhinav Gupta or Abhinav Gupta. Abhinav Gupta is to Kashmir Shaivism the way Adi Shankaracharya is to Advaita Vedanta. His work of Tantra Lok has been the basis of the philosophy ever since, and even modern proponents of this philosophy consider him to be the go-to source for all texts. Laleshwari or Lal Ded is to Shiva the way Mirabai is to Krishna. Each had a divine form of bhakti to their Ishta that is unparalleled in history. Laleshwari brought the esoteric teachings of Kashmir Shaivism to the masses, making them accessible through her poetry. As a female mystic in a largely patriarchal society, she became a symbol of spiritual empowerment for women. Her works are considered the foundation of modern Kashmiri poetry, and even today, every modern Kashmiri sings Laleshwari's hymns while putting their children to bed. Just check the famous Hukkus Bukkus song. These thinkers and others developed a sophisticated philosophical system. Kashmir Shaivism refers to Shiva as Prakash or light, and he is the pure consciousness, the be all and end all. While Vimarsh or reflection is the self reflective aspect of this consciousness or Shiva's awareness of himself. It's like looking into a mirror. The reflection is both you and not you at the same time. So, Shiva is the Prakash, the light, while the universe is the Vimarsh, his reflection. This consciousness isn't just aware, it's also creative. It has the power to manifest itself in infinite ways, much like how a dreamer creates entire worlds within their minds. The tradition calls this creative power Shakti, often personified as the divine feminine counterpart to Shiva. And Shiva and Shakti are inseparable. Consciousness and its creative power are the two aspects of the same reality. It is important to understand that despite being seen as a vimarsh or a reflection, the universe is not a mere illusion. Rather, it's a real expression of divine consciousness. The goal is not to dismiss the world, but to recognize that the world and all experiences are manifestations of Shiva. It sees the act of creation not as a fall from perfection, but as a joyful, spontaneous expression of the divine. Moreover, the universe is not static, but it is in a constant state of vibration or pulsation. This vibration is the divine energy and it is known as Spanda. Spanda flows through everything. You can think of it like music or sound waves, unseen but always present and affecting everything. The ultimate goal of Kashmir Shaivism is Pratyabhijna, or to recognize that you are not separate from the divine. This is akin to the wave realizing that it is part of the ocean. And the means to recognize this are through meditation, contemplation, mantra recitations, visualizations, and yoga. The realization that we are manifestations of the game dissolves the ego and the weight of daily struggles. Once the ego's demands fade, we have nothing to prove or fear, just the vastness of the game to experience. There's no ceiling, no floor, the world feels boundless, yet we are aware that our time as entities is fleeting. The game continues as it always has and always will, while we are temporary presences within it, here to enjoy the bliss of existence. And as we talk about Kashmir Shaivism, it is hard not to talk about Advaita Vedanta, the other comparatively more widely known school of non dualism. Here's an oversimplified comparison chart highlighting the key differences and similarities between Advaita Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism. Please note that this is just a basic chart for anyone looking to explore the schools of non dualism. There are many nuances in each of them which are impossible to fit in a short video. Hence, take it with a pinch of salt, and if you are more interested in either, I have links in the description below to guide you further. In Advaita Vedanta, Brahman is the ultimate, formless, supreme reality. In Kashmir Shaivism, Shiva is the supreme consciousness, both formless and the manifest. In Advaita Vedanta, the world is falsified due to Maya. I have spoken at length about Maya in the previous section. In Kashmir Shaivism, the world is real, usually made from Shakti, also seen as Vimarsh or a reflection of the divine consciousness or Shiva. In Advaita Vedanta, we are all part of the divine Leela because the world is Maya and everything is just a divine play of the Brahman or the supreme consciousness. In Kashmir Shaivism, the world is real but is still seen as a play of the Shakti, the divine cosmic energy, which is a part of Shiva as well. In Advaita Vedanta, the Atman is identical with the Brahman. In Kashmir Shaivism, the individual self or the Jeev is a manifestation of Shiva. So both equate the individual self with the universal self. In Advaita Vedanta, the path to liberation is through knowledge or gyan and self realization, along with detachment from Maya. Again, in Kashmir Shaivism, the path to liberation is self realization, that we are all nothing but manifestations of Shiva himself. This is known as Pratyabhijna. The concept of ignorance is seen as the root of bondage in both Advaita Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism. In Advaita Vedanta, God's creative power or divine energy, known as Yog Maya, is the reason for the entire creation. In Kashmir Shaivism, Shakti, which is inseparable from Shiva, is the energy for the entire divine creation. Advaita Vedanta sees Brahman or the supreme reality as Nirgun and Nirakar, which is pure consciousness, without any attributes. In Kashmir Shaivism, Shiva is the universal consciousness and it is both static and dynamic. The key texts of Advait Vedanta are the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita. In Kashmir Shaivism, it is Spandakarika, Shiva Sutra, and Pratyabhijna Hridayam. The most famous proponent of Advait Vedanta is Adi Shankaracharya, while Abhinav Gupta is seen as the most famous proponent of Kashmir Shaivism. Both emphasize on meditation for self realization, and liberation or moksha is seen as the ultimate goal in both schools of thoughts. One clear distinction between Kashmir Shaivism and Advait Vedanta is the concept of Maya. When you realize that the world is Maya or a matrix, you take the red pill and move outside from it, similar to detachment. That is Neo's path or the Vedant's path. You do your karma without any wish for rewards. But people often confuse detachment and non attachment, which even I regret I have thrown around interchangeably throughout the video. They think detachment is not loving anyone and not caring about others. What it actually means is non attachment. Let's say you have a pet cat. Detachment is not loving your cat. Non attachment is not being attached to that emotion. You will still love your cat and love her well, but you are not attached to the act of loving, which binds you down to Maya. In Kashmir Shaivism, you realize that the world is a Vimarsha from Shakti's energy. It's real, it's not Maya. But you have to transcend this world as well. You cannot be stuck in an endless loop of birth, death, and rebirth. So you enjoy the world the same way Shiva enjoys it. So while Advait Vedant has a more, I wouldn't say existential or nihilistic exactly, but a vairagya, a non attached stoic approach to the world. Kashmir Shaivism, on the other hand, has a more absurdist approach to the world, or rather, a Truman approach to break free. And the left hand methods of Tantra are also part of it, which can even be called a more hedonistic approach, where concepts like brahmacharya are not pushed on people, but people are allowed to have the pleasures of life. Of course, in either of them, nothing is done for the pleasure of the ego, but realization that all the pleasures and the pain are nothing but dedicated to the Supreme Being Himself. Although the tradition of Kashmir Shaivism declined in its homeland after the advent of Islam in the region, its teachings have continued to inspire seekers and thinkers. In fact, I would even say that the Sufi school of Islam has quite a few similarities with Kashmir Shaivism. However, mainstream Islam would not really find this appealing, but again, Sufis have a different lens of viewing the world than the modern day conventional Muslim. I have spoken more about it on my Twitter, so do check it out. And this non dualistic approach is hard for us to digest in the world that we live in. How can Shiv be in the Kashmiri Pandits who lost their lives? And how can Shiv be inside the Islamic terrorists who took their lives? Why even put up a fight with anyone when everyone is the same energy of God? In the Advait Vedanta section, I gave the analogy of the Atman being an individual cell and Brahman being an entire being composed of the trillions of individual cells. This highlights the concept of Tattvamasi, where everyone is that. While the analogy is not 100% accurate, because technically your self needs a trillion cells to be you, the Supreme Consciousness does not need individual consciousness to be Him. He is Swatantra, or free from us, as is said in Kashmir Shaivism and also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. And I have no clear answer to how God can be both in the victim and perpetrator. But I will try making some sense of all the violence we see around. Of course, we have karma to take into account. Karma of not just this life, but thousands of lifetimes for all the suffering. But it doesn't sound so convincing. So, for a moment, keeping that aside, let's continue with the analogy of cells and the human body. Consider every cell in your body as a jeev of this world or the individual soul. Your body does not sustain with all your cells living in harmony and playing ringa ringa roses together all the time. Every minute, your body is attacked by thousands of bacteria, viruses, and other germs looking to harm you. Every minute, an army of cells is fighting to keep you fit and fine in order for your sense organs to function. And these viruses, while being inside your body, are still a part of you. They are as much you as the cells that protect you from you. Even your blood needs to be purified constantly by your heart. The duality of black and white, good and evil, yin and yang, are the two sides of the same coin. So maybe, just maybe, the victims that fight against the perpetrators have as much God within them as the ones inflicting pain. Of course, this doesn't mean that one should join the dark side of the forces. This is just my limited understanding of how to make sense of all the adharma and the intensity of Kali Yuga around us. The core of non duality is compassion, but it's not always easy to practice. As Eric Weiner aptly says in his book Man Seeks God, compassion is not some slobbery emotion, but rather a skill, like playing a piano or crocheting. Love without wisdom is ineffective and to a degree self indulgent. Indeed, it's one thing to feel compassion for all sentient beings while meditating peacefully, and quite another to maintain the same compassion when someone cuts you off in the rush hour traffic. To cultivate this compassion, we can turn to a Buddhist exercise that resonates across all dharmic religions, rooted in the concepts of reincarnation and samsara. Try imagining every person you encounter as your mother from a previous lifetime. Given the cycle of rebirth, we may have experienced thousands or even millions of lives before reaching moksha. In this vast tapestry of existence, the odds make it plausible that every individual crossing your path could have been your mother in some form. Perhaps as a cow, a queen ant, a lioness, or a beggar in a remote village looking to take care of you. That person who just cut you off in traffic or that rude waiter might have been your child in another lifetime. This perspective can make it easier to see others as manifestations of ourselves, aligning with the non-dual philosophies of Advait Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism. These schools of thought propose a unified view of the samsara that becomes more comprehensible when we consider our interconnectedness through countless lifetimes. When your knee hurts, your hand automatically reaches for it because it's all part of the same body. Similarly, when we realize that we are all one collective being, we can help others without conscious thought, without even considering it as helping. This realization transforms compassion from a deliberate act into an instinctive response, reflecting the true essence of non duality. If you have any other analogies or ideas, please share them in the comments. I would love to know these non dualistic views better. So, that was Kashmir Shaivism, which is an invitation to dance with the divine, to play in the waves of consciousness, and to recognize the face of Shiva in every face we meet. The consumption of cannabis by a certain group of sadhus, known as the holy ascetics, and the use of bhang, which is a preparation made from the leaves of the cannabis plant, has some cultural roots in India, especially within specific Shaiva traditions, though it is often misunderstood or simplified in popular culture. Firstly, there is no clear rule or history on it. There are places and cultures where it's common, and other places where it is frowned upon. You are simply not going to find a definitive answer on whether one should or should not consume cannabis. My definitive guess is that far more people don't use it than use it. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, it is mentioned Siddhis are born of practices performed in previous births or by herbs, mantra repetition, asceticism, or by samadhi. The commentators have not explicitly stated the herb that was used. But since time eternity, cannabis, marijuana, dhatura, or similar herbs have been used as painkillers and for other medicinal purposes as well. Shiva doesn't consume bhang or any other drugs, according to official scriptures as well. He doesn't need to. In fact, a lot of scriptures say that Indra and other devas residing in the Swargalok consume som or wine, which was a stimulant to enhance their performance during their battles against the Asuras. And of course, the Asuras do the same as well, not just during battles but as a pastime too. Shiva is often seen as a lord of the outcasts, people who live on the fringes of the society, and over the years, he has been labeled as the lord of the thieves, dacoits, and even the evil people because Shiva does not see good and evil as separate. He has been worshipped by both with equal penance. The ascetics in the Himalayas who often worship Shiv live in cold, harsh climates with minimal clothing or, in fact, no clothing at all, in the case of Naga sadhus. Marijuana was a source to numb the external discomfort and focus their mind on meditation solely. For them, cannabis or marijuana is not merely a recreational drug, but a sacrament that aids in meditation, prayer, and self discipline. Their only goal is to achieve spiritual liberation, and these intoxicants help them. Think of spiritual liberation like walking on a road of thorns barefoot. Marijuana or cannabis becomes the shoes that would help one survive on that road of thorns. With time, these stuff became offerings not just by the ascetics like the Aghoris and the Naga sadhus, but even within the masses. And it became a shortcut way to experience what liberation could possibly feel like. But again, it's one thing beating the game on your own, and another thing to use cheat codes and beat the game. You might find it fun in the early days, but what happens when you use only cheat codes to survive the game? You lose interest. Your skill levels might seem bloated, but they are actually much less compared to someone who has beaten the game without the help of cheat codes. Anyway, Shiva is often seen as an embodiment of detachment and asceticism. His association with cannabis could be more metaphoric, symbolizing the transcendence of physical pleasures and the ability to remain unaffected by the material world. The use of cannabis by the ascetics might have been inspired by this association as a way to emulate their deity himself. Over time, cultural and spiritual associations have been simplified or misinterpreted, leading to a more widespread non spiritual use of cannabis among the general population. And for many, the justification of indulgence, even though the original context was deeply spiritual, is just another convenient way to indulge for the pleasure of one's own ego. Hinduism and Tantra in particular encompass various mystical and esoteric schools. Among these are the Aghoris, Naga sadhus, and other lesser known traditions. These schools often operate on the fringes of mainstream Hinduism, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. The Aghoris are a sect of ascetic Shaivites known for their unconventional and extreme practices. They seek to transcend the limitations of the physical world and attain a state of enlightenment that goes beyond conventional notions of purity and impurity. Aghoris often reside in cremation grounds, meditating on death and using human skulls as drinking vessels and ritual items. This practice symbolizes their transcendence over the fear of death and the material world itself. They are also infamous for consuming human flesh as a part of their rituals. This practice is believed to be a powerful method of breaking attachments and overcoming societal taboos. Aghori philosophy is rooted in Advait, non dualism, or rather Trika Shaivism, which posits that everything in the universe, whether pure or impure, is a manifestation of the same divine reality. By embracing what is considered impure, they seek to realize the oneness of existence. Aghoris aim to transcend societal norms and personal attachments, seeing beyond the dualities of life and death, pleasure and pain. Few figures are as striking or enigmatic as the Naga sadhus. These ash smeared, often naked ascetics are the most extreme adherents of the Shaivite tradition, embodying a lifestyle that seems to defy the very bounds of human endurance. The word Naga means naked, while Sadhu refers to a holy man. True to their name, These wandering monks renounce not just material possessions, but often clothing itself. Their bodies, dusted with sacred ash, becomes living canvases that tell tales of extreme austerity and unwavering devotion to Lord Shiva. It's the ultimate act of renunciation, giving up not just wealth, property, land, but even the base level clothing. Originally, the Naga tradition emerged as a military wing of ascetics, sworn to protecting Hindu holy sites, temples, and saints during the times of religious conflict, especially after the advent of Islam in India. I mean, just picturize a man covered in full armor, facing up against someone who has given up everything, even the clothes he wears. The sight itself can be terrifying, and it's always hard to beat someone who has nothing to lose. There are several akhadas or monastic orders within the Naga sadhus as well. Today, while their warrior past lingers in the occasional brandishing of weapons, their battles are primarily internal, a constant war against desire, attachment, and the illusion of the material world. The path of a Naga sadhu is not for the faint hearted. Initiates undergo rigorous training, subjecting themselves to extreme physical hardships. They practice intense meditation, often in remote Himalayan caves or cremation grounds. These practices are believed to burn away karmic residues and transcend bodily limitations. Perhaps most famously, Naga sadhus are associated with the Kumbh Mela, the world's largest religious gathering. Here, millions witness their spectacular processions where they march in their full ash covered glory. It's a sight that seems to belong more to myth than to the modern world. Yet, beneath their fearsome appearance lies a philosophy of profound detachment and inner peace. By renouncing all, they claim to gain everything, the all encompassing Lord. Their lifestyle is a radical challenge to societal norms, a living reminder of alternate paths to spiritual enlightenment. In the age of materialism, the Naga sadhus stand as anachronistic yet compelling figures. They embody the eternal human quest to transcend the mundane, to touch the divine, and to unlock the mysteries of existence. Whether viewed as holy men or eccentrics, their presence continues to fascinate, perplex, and inspire, offering a glimpse into a world where the spiritual trumps the material in the most absolute terms. Tantric sex, just by its name, has very negative connotations. The reason Tantra gets so much flack is because it does not shy away from pleasure, and our general mindset is that something which is pleasurable cannot be religious. But Tantra can transform any action, regardless of how unreligious or taboo it may seem, into a spiritual experience. But it's not just about sex. That's a modern Western misconception. In its essence, Tantra is about transcending duality. It teaches that apparent opposites like male and female, pleasure and pain, sacred and profane, are actually part of a greater unity. And all that experiences are closely related to sex. Tantric practices, including ritualized forms of intimacy, were seen as tools for spiritual growth. The goal wasn't physical pleasure, but a profound state of awareness that transcends ordinary consciousness. Take the concept of calm, for instance, a word used to denote desire, pleasure, and love. We often leave aside, conveniently, the love and pleasure and simply mistranslate it as lust. Calm is actually one of the four goals of human life in Hindu philosophy, alongside dharma or duty, prosperity or artha, and moksha or liberation. The famous text Kama Sutra, often reduced to its sexual content in popular culture, is actually a comprehensive guide to leading a fulfilling life. It covers topics ranging from finding a life partner to maintaining a harmonious household, with physical intimacy being just one aspect of a much broader philosophy. Tantra sees sex as a way to transcend the ego and the physical limitations. Its purpose is to harness and channel sexual energy, or the Shakti or Kundalini, towards spiritual growth and enlightenment. Shiva, represents pure consciousness, while Shakti represents the primordial energy. Tantric sex is symbolically and ritually about the union of these two forces within an individual, leading to a state of cosmic consciousness. Through slow, mindful, and meditative engagement in sexual practices, the aim is to raise the dormant Kundalini energy within at the base of the spine and guide it upwards through the chakras, leading to a spiritual awakening. It emphasizes the spiritual dimensions of intimacy rather than just physical gratification. It involves maintaining focus, prolonging the experience, and directing energy inward. And when it's about sex, one cannot ignore the famous Khajuraho temples, which are a testament to a civilization that was far ahead of its time. Built around 1,000 years ago by the Chandela dynasty, these temples are renowned for their distinctive artwork. You must have seen the images of the erotic sculptures, but they are just a small part of a much larger story. Of the original 85 temples, only 25 remain, each a masterpiece of architectural brilliance. But why the explicit imagery? Contrary to popular belief, these carvings aren't ancient versions of adult entertainment. Instead, they represent a profound philosophy that views life holistically, where the physical and the spiritual realms aren't separate but interconnected parts of the human experience. The Khajuraho temples remind us that in ancient Indian thought, the path to spiritual enlightenment included embracing all aspects of life, and that means human desire as well. These erotic sculptures, while eye watching, make up only 10% of the temple's artwork. The rest depict everyday life in medieval India: musicians, farmers, teachers, and even acrobats. This comprehensive representation of society suggests that the temples were meant to be a microcosm of the universe itself. And there's more to these temples than meets the eye. They are built on the principles of sacred geometry. During certain times of the year, sunlight illuminates specific sculptures, creating a play of light and shadow that early worshippers might have found awe inspiring. Beyond tantric sex, traditional tantra includes other practices that might seem shocking to modern sensibilities. Kala Jadoo or black magic in Tantra refers to occult practices aimed at influencing events, controlling situations, or manipulating people through rituals and mantras. Rooted in ancient traditions, it is often associated with invoking supernatural forces for personal gain or harm to others. Practitioners of black magic and Tantra claim to access powers from specific deities or spirits, typically through rituals that might include offerings, invocations, and other esoteric practices. The effectiveness of black magic is highly debated. While some believe in its power due to the anecdotal experiences or cultural influences, others argue that the effects can be often attributed to psychological suggestions or the placebo effect. The belief in black magic can create a sense of fear and anxiety, which in itself can affect a person's perception of reality. In modern times, many so called tantrics exploit these beliefs for monetary purposes, preying on the vulnerable who are seeking solutions to their problems. As a result, the line between genuine spiritual practice and fraudulent activities becomes blurred, leading many people to fall victim to scams in the guise of traditional rituals. While genuine Tantra is a complex spiritual path aimed at self realization, the commercialized version that claims to wield black magic often diverges significantly from its roots. Hinduism, known for its fluidity and diversity, includes stories and concepts that reflect a broad understanding of gender and sexuality as well, including LGBTQ plus themes. Several ancient stories highlight the idea of gender fluidity and same sex love, as well as the revered status of transgenders in the Indian subcontinent. The most notable one being Shikhandi from the Mahabharat. Shikhandi was in fact a woman in her previous birth known as Amba, swearing revenge against Bhishma. She is reborn as Shikhandini in her next life. She then becomes a male after agreeing to a sex exchange with a Yaksh. Shikhandi then goes on to play a crucial role in the Kurukshetra war as Bhishma, one of the most powerful warriors on the Kaurav side, refuses to fight against Shikhandi because he saw her as a woman, despite the sex change. Shikhandi's story is often cited as one of the earliest references to transgender identity in Hindu texts. Vishnu, the preserver god, in the Samudra Manthan epic takes the form of Mohini, a beautiful enchanting woman, and tricks the Asuras or the demons. This transformation of a male god into a female form is embraced without any negative connotations. There is also a story in which Shiva falls in love with Mohini, further reinforcing the idea of fluid gender identity and attraction. King Dilip, who had two wives, died without an heir, leaving the kingdom in uncertainty. His two widowed queens sought a way to continue the lineage. They prayed fervently to Lord Shiva, who granted them a boon to have a child together. Through divine intervention, the two queens conceived Bhagirath, and so Bhagirath was the first child to have same sex parents. He grew up with a sense of purpose, later becoming famous for bringing the Ganga river to earth and liberate his ancestors' soul. The story highlights the acceptance of non traditional parenthood in ancient times. The Hijras, a community of transgender and intersex individuals, have a unique and respected status in Indian culture. Of course, it is not always respected, and there are several documentaries out there which you can check out. Anyway, the Hijras trace back thousands of years. They are often seen as neither male nor female, but they embody a third gender. They worship the goddess Bahuchar Mata, a deity associated with transgender individuals, and her temple in Gujarat is an important pilgrimage site for them. Hijras are invited to bless weddings and childbirth ceremonies as they are believed to have the power to confer fertility and good luck. This tradition persists even today, despite societal stigma in modern times. According to some legends, Hijras are said to have received blessings from Lord Ram himself. After being abandoned during his exile, the Hijras waited for him for 14 years, and upon his return, Ram blessed them with the ability to bless others in turn, which is why they are invited to auspicious events like weddings and childbirth. In the Rig Veda, there are mentions of the gods Mitra and Varun, who are often depicted together and share a deep bond. Some scholars interpret the relationship as a reflection of same sex love or companionship. And then there's the famous Ardhanarishwar avatar of Lord Shiva and Parvati, which is one of the most iconic representations of gender fluidity and the unity of the male and female, showing that both are necessary and inseparable in the cosmos. This concept reflects that divinity transcends gender binaries and embodies the balance of masculine and feminine qualities. A similar idea is proposed in the Greek literature of Plato's Symposium as well, which we spoke about earlier in the series, where humans were androgynous with both the male and female in one being. So do check out that story at length. Hinduism offers a wide space for understanding gender and sexuality beyond the binary norm. The concept of happily ever after is often associated with love stories, but the narratives of Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and Lord Shiva in Hindu Purans and legends depict a more complex and profound understanding of love and sacrifice. Despite their divine nature, the lords did not experience the conventional idea of romantic fulfillment with their primary love interest. We already saw the story of Ramayan at the beginning of the Iceberg. Lord Ram, the seventh avatar of Vishnu, is often hailed as the epitome of Dharma. His love story with Sita, however, is marked by immense trials and separations. Immediately after their marriage, Ram and Sita faced a 14-year exile in the forest due to the scheming of Ram's stepmother Kaikeyi. During the exile, Sita was kidnapped by the demon king Ravan, leading to a famous battle in which Ram defeated Ravan to rescue her. That is the version which the majority of the people know of, and is a part of the Ramayana written by Valmiki, the original author of the legend. Much later in the 16th century, the Ramcharitmanas was composed by Tulsidas, who used Valmiki's Sanskrit Ramayana as the base and gave a more devotional or bhakti aspect to the story. However, the story of Ram and Sita doesn't end after their return from exile. According to Uttar Ramayan or later Ramayan, after returning to Ayodhya, and despite Sita's purity being proven through a trial by fire or Agni Pariksha, rumors and doubts spread among the subjects of the city. Ram, prioritizing his duty as a king over his personal happiness, reluctantly banished a pregnant Sita to the forest. In some texts, Sita herself was uncomfortable with the gossip about her purity and left Ayodhya for the forest. There, she gave birth to their twin sons Love and Kush. Although the family reunited briefly, Sita ultimately sought refuge in the earth, leaving Ram to rule Ayodhya alone. This story portrays Ram's life as one of sacrifice, showing that his duty as a king or his dharma as a king takes precedence over personal fulfillment or familial life. And he did not get to enjoy a peaceful life with Sita after all the hardships they endured together. Now, there are several discrepancies about Uttar Ramayana or the later Ramayana. Many believe that Uttar Ramayana is an integral part of the Valmiki Ramayana as well, while others believe it is an interpolation or rather even adulteration of the original Ramayana. Now, if you think that the story ended with the return from exile, then it's a happily ever after for them. But if you take into account the Uttar Ramayana and consider it to be an integral part of the original text, then did Ram and Sita get their happily ever after? Moving on to Lord Krishna, the eighth avatar of Vishnu. He is widely known for his love for Radha, so much that he is also known as Radhe. There still exists significant number of followers of Radharani. Their bond is often considered the highest form of divine love, the kind of platonic love that fairy tales often speak about. However, Krishna and Radha's love story did not culminate in marriage. After coming of age, Krishna left Vrindavan and Radha behind when he was called to fulfill his destiny in Mathura to face off with his maternal uncle Kans and rescue his parents. Later, he and his subjects from Mathura migrated to Dwarka. Despite their deep connection, Krishna never returned to marry Radha. One legend states that Ayan was an ardent devotee of Lord Vishnu, engaging in years of penance. When Vishnu granted him a boon, Ayan chose to marry Lakshmi, Vishnu's consort. So, when Vishnu incarnated as Krishna on earth, Lakshmi accompanied him as Radha. And after Krishna's departure from Vrindavan, Radha married Ayan and fulfilled his boon. Krishna later went on to marry Rukmani, and many legends state that he had over 16,000 wives, all of which were princesses that he rescued from the demon Narkasur. Narkasur had abducted these women and killed their spouses, and after being liberated by Krishna, they had to face societal stigma the same way Sita had to face. In order to avoid that, all these princesses chose Krishna as their husband. While Krishna fulfilled his responsibilities as a husband and protector to these women, his heart remained with Radha, symbolizing that love transcends worldly ties and cannot be confined to conventional relationships. Krishna's story reflects the idea that true love is beyond attachment and possession, and his separation from Radha signifies the spiritual nature of their bond. I have spoken about how friendship, love, sex, and marriage have historically been separate concepts in my video, so feel free to check that out. Lord Shiva is often depicted as a deeply ascetic figure who fell in love with Sati, the daughter of Daksha. Their love was so intense, but at the same time, it faced strong opposition from Daksh, who disapproved of Shiva's unconventional lifestyle. During a grand yagna or sacrifice hosted by Daksha, Sati was humiliated by her father for her devotion to Shiva. Unable to bear the insult, Sati immolated herself in the sacrificial fire. Shiva, overwhelmed with grief and rage, performed the destructive dance of Tandav and wreaked havoc on the universe. Sati's death marked a significant loss for Shiva, and though she was later reborn as Parvati, the pain of losing Sati left a deep scar. Parvati eventually won Shiva's love and became his consort, but the tragic end of Sati's life cast a shadow on the union. Even in the divine love, the themes of loss, separation, and the cycles of birth and rebirth play a central role. The love stories of Ram, Krishna, and Shiva highlight that even divine beings are not exempt from the trials and tribulations of love. The relationships transcend the ordinary fairy tale like understanding of happily ever after. Ram prioritized his duty as a king over his personal happiness. Krishna and Radha's bond remained spiritual and eternal despite their separation. And Shiva's deep love for Sati was marked by grief and eventual reunion in a new form. Love, I believe, should not be about consummation or possession, as is seen in all these three stories. The love that we experience is often marred in selfish desires of our ego. Love should also be liberating. It should never be a chain that binds us, but it should be a pair of wings that helps us fly. We love ourselves more than we love our soulmate. I would like to quote a verse from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that encapsulates the idea of love thoroughly. It is not for the sake or necessity of the husband that he is loved by the wife, but it is for one's own sake that he is loved by her, and vice versa. Likewise, it is not for the sake of the sons, wealth, the Brahman, the Kshatriya, the worlds, the gods, the beings, and all. Therefore, our love for other subjects is secondary, since they contribute to the pleasure of the self. And our love for the self alone is primary. Therefore, the self is the only worth of realization, or should be made the object of realization. It should first be heard of from a teacher and from the scriptures, then reflected on through reasoning, and then steadfastly meditated upon. Thus, only is it realized when these means, that is, hearing, reflection, and meditation, have been gone through. When these three are combined, then only true realization of the unity of Brahman is accomplished. There are many similar concepts between Indian and Western philosophies, especially ancient Greek ones. In the past few years, Stoicism has taken the internet by storm. Stoicism used to be like the secret handshake of hipsters. Oh, you haven't read the meditations yet. But now, it's like, did you even suffer if you did not post on Instagram using Marcus Aurelius' photo and some adulterated quote? That said, Stoicism has several similarities with the Hindu concept of Karma Yoga and the Bhagavad Gita in general. Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium, advocates for inner peace through detachment from external events. Further, Marcus Aurelius says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises Arjun, you have the right to perform your duty, but not to the fruits of the action. Stoics believe in accepting fate with equanimity, aligning with the Gita's teaching that one should accept life's outcome as a part of the divine plan. The Gita emphasizes fulfilling one's dharma or duty without selfish motives, contributing to the greater good. Stoicism's concept of logos, which is universal reason, parallels the Gita's notion of dharma, both serving as guiding principles for ethical living. And Stoics emphasize virtue as the highest good, focusing on wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as the keys to living in accordance with nature and society. This is akin to the Gita's emphasis on living virtuously according to one's dharma. Several stories and themes in Indian and Greek culture overlap, showcasing universal ideas about life, the divine, and human nature. Here are some notable examples. Let's start with the Ramayana. Ram's wife Sita is captured by Ravan in a different country. Ram crosses the ocean and fights with Ravan to reunite with Sita. And what is the Iliad all about? Helen is taken to Troy by the prince Paris, in this case willingly, and all the Greek kingdoms unite and fight against the Trojans. A war between nations over a wife is the common theme, with multiple heroes on each side and even gods partaking in the war. Consider Achilles, the greatest warrior on the Greek side. He was almost invincible, almost because when he was a child, his mother, the sea nymph Thetis, dipped him into the river Styx, which was believed to make him invincible to anyone who touched its waters. However, she held the baby Achilles by his heel, leaving that part of his body untouched by the water and thus vulnerable. As a result, while Achilles became a great warrior known for his strength and bravery, he had one significant weakness: his heel. This became particularly relevant during the Trojan War, where Achilles fought bravely but ultimately met his fate due to this vulnerability. He was struck in the heel by an arrow shot by Paris, guided by the god Apollo, leading to his death. In the Mahabharat war, before Duryodhan's epic face off with Bhim, he was granted a similar boon. You see, Duryodhan's mother was Gandhari, who, after her marriage with the blind king Dhritarashtra, lived the rest of her life with a blindfold. Her reasoning being she needed to share the fate of a blind husband. This penance gave her a special power. Once in her lifetime, she could remove the blindfold, and the first person she would lay her eyes on would make him invulnerable. She asked her son Duryodhan to stand in front of him naked, as that special power would cover his entire body when she removed the blindfold. But Duryodhan, tricked by Lord Krishna, was ashamed to stand entirely naked in front of his mother, and thus covered his middle part with a towel. When Gandhari opened her eyes and bestowed the invincibility power, she covered Duryodhan's entire body except his thighs, which were covered in a towel. Later, in his duel with Bhim, Duryodhan was defeated by being struck on his weak point, that is, the thighs. In fact, the earlier Vedic Holy Trinity of Indra, Varun, and Agni share similar traits as Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, the god of the heavens, god of the seas, and the god of fire or underworld. The traits of various demigods and characters in Hindu Itihas are strikingly similar. The duel between Hector and Achilles and their personalities is somewhat similar to the epic rivalry of Karan and Arjun. Bhim's likeness to the mighty Ajax, Odysseus guided by the goddess of wisdom, is similar to Arjun being guided by Krishna, and so on. Even Plato's theory of forms posits that the material world is a shadow of a higher, unchanging reality. This mirrors the Bhagavad Gita idea from the Upanishads that the phenomenal world is an illusion or Maya, and that ultimate reality lies beyond our sensory perception. Plato's allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows for reality, is similar to people mistaking the material world for ultimate reality due to ignorance or avidya. In fact, the idea of Kashmir Shaivism, where Shiva is the light and the universe is just a reflection of him, this is in essence the allegory of the cave. Even Neoplatonism, which is monist by nature, is very much like the concepts of Advaita Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism, the non dual schools of Hindu philosophy. While both monism and non dualism emphasize the interconnectedness of all things, monism tends to focus on the idea that everything originates from a single substance, whereas non dualism emphasizes the illusory nature of dualities and the direct experience of unity with the divine. Even Pythagoras' belief and the concept of samsara share similarities in their views on the soul's journey. Emphasizing reincarnation, Pythagoras believed in the immortality of the soul, where the soul transmigrates between bodies until it achieves enlightenment through philosophical study and ethical living. Similarly, samsara refers to the continuous cycle of birth, death influenced by karma, with the ultimate goal of liberation. Aristotle's logic and the Nyaya logic are both systems of reasoning that help us understand how to make arguments and arrive at conclusions, but they come from different cultural and philosophical traditions. They both share the goal of seeking truth through logical reasoning, but approach it from slightly different angles. And Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia parallels the Hindu concept of purushartha. It's the ultimate flourishing of a human life, of one's soul. Aristotle's idea of the golden mean The virtuous balance between extremes is similar to the Hindu and Buddhist principle of the middle path, avoiding both excess and deficiency in behavior or consumption. Socrates famously stated, "An unexamined life is not worth living," and believed that self knowledge is the foundation of wisdom. Through dialogue and questioning, he sought to reveal people's assumption and guide them towards greater understanding. Similarly, the pursuit of self knowledge or Atma Vichar is a central theme in the Upanishads. Knowing the Atman leads to moksha. And now let's talk about Diogenes of Sinope, who was a prominent figure in the philosophical school of Cynicism. Known for his ascetic lifestyle and sharp wit, he had no material possessions. He lived on the fringes of the society, went without a bath for days, masturbated in public, and did not care about the world. A common legend is that once Alexander the Great, after listening to tales about Diogenes, wanted to meet him. As he waited for Diogenes to wake up from his deep slumber, Diogenes told Alexander, "Move away, you are blocking the sunlight for me." And when you look at all the Aghori sadhus and the Naga sadhus in the Indian religious places, you cannot but see the same traits of Diogenes. Both Diogenes and the Aghoris and the Naga sadhus embody a profound disdain for material possessions and societal conventions. Diogenes famously lived in a large ceramic jar and owned very little, advocating for a life devoid of unnecessary luxuries. Similarly, Aghori and Naga sadhus often renounce worldly possessions, choosing instead to live in extreme conditions. Naga sadhus also practice severe austerities, including nudity and extreme detachment, to transcend societal norms and attain spiritual enlightenment. In essence, they represent radical pathways to spiritual truth, emphasizing authenticity, asceticism, and a rejection of societal constraints. All these vast similarities between Indian, Greek, and other Western philosophies does not necessarily mean that one was inspired from the other. I think the basis of religion across the world is the same. The psychology of humans across the world is the same. And it is so beautiful and astounding that since thousands of years, people in different parts of the world come up with similar stories, have similar ideas, faiths, and even act in more or less the same way. Maybe, just maybe, we all are that. The Chiranjeevis are immortal beings in Hinduism who are believed to be alive since ancient times and are destined to live until the end of the current cosmic cycle. Now, immortal is a term only used in Bhurlok or in our realm of Earth. Sometimes our world is also known as Mrityulok or the realm of death. Those souls who transcend our realm and move on to higher realms do not have to suffer death, although their karmas might make them take birth on earth again. Anyway, back to the Chiranjeevis. Traditionally, there are seven Chiranjeevis, but some texts mention eight. First one and the most famous one being Ashwatthama, who is the son of Dronacharya from the Mahabharat. He fought on the side of the Kauravas against the Pandavas. In fact, there are several instances in the Mahabharat where Ashwatthama tells Duryodhan and Karna and Shakuni that all this planning and plotting for the throne is useless. It was only after his father's death during the war and the subsequent death of Duryodhan that Ashwatthama's character arc changes completely. Just before his death, Duryodhan asks Ashwatthama to kill the Pandavas. And in the dark of the night, Ashwatthama sneaked into the Pandav camp and killed five men in their sleep. It was only the next morning that he realized they weren't the Pandavas but their sons. In an attempt to end the lineage of the Pandavas, he then proceeds to fire the Brahmastra and kill the unborn son of Abhimanyu or the grandson of Arjun. Krishna then saves the pregnant Uttara and her unborn child from the effects of the Brahmastra, but he curses Ashwatthama with immortality, taking away the gem on his forehead, which was the source of his power. He was cursed to roam in the forests for thousands of years, with blood and pus oozing out of his injuries and with no one to talk to. Bali, the demon king or Asur, also known as Mahabali, was a benevolent ruler who had conquered the three worlds and defeated Indra and the Devas. However, in order to save the Devtas from complete annihilation and restore the balance between the Devs and the Asurs, Vishnu, in his dwarf or Vaman avatar, took three giant strides and regained the heaven and earth. Bali was sent to Sutal, the third realm of the underworld, and made an immortal, also granting him the boon to visit earth regularly. People in South India celebrate Onam as a welcome to him. He was one of the few good Asurs. His realm is a realm of comfort and luxury. But then why is it in the Patal Lok or in the hell and why not in the heavens? Because you see, comfort itself can be so addictive that it hinders one's spiritual progress, and hence comfort in the Patal Lok is seen as a hindrance rather than as a luxury. Vyas, popularly known as Ved Vyas or the author of the Mahabharat and the Bhagavad Gita, is the third immortal. The word Vyas refers to compiler or arranger, and it also means to split and differentiate. It's a title given to a holy sage or a learned man. Swami Vivekananda expresses the opinion that Vyas may not have been a single person, but a lineage of sages who were content to simply develop the ideas without claiming credit, as they were free from the desire for the results of their work, and hence attributed the authorship to Vyas. Much like the idea that Shakespeare was not just one person, but a lineage of authors or a group of people or a company with many like minded people. The role of Vyas is to split the Vedas. It's believed that originally there was only one Veda, but later they were split and simplified with the passage of each Yuga and their cycles in order for humanity to better understand it. After the current Mahayug, Ashwatthama will become a great saint and take over the role of Vyas, further splitting the Vedas. It's like the update of an app which makes user interface better, sleeker and more modern for the people to consume and understand. The fourth immortal is Hanuman from the Ramayan. He is known for his strength, courage and devotion. Every time a Vishnu avatar appears on earth, Hanuman is always ready to serve him. Even in the Mahabharat war, Hanuman's sigil was used by Arjun and Krishna. And there are several legends with respect to Hanuman, which we'll talk about in a moment. The fifth one is Vibhishan, who was the brother of Ravan in the Ramayan. Vibhishan, before the final war, told Ravan several times about his bad karma. Ravan, choosing to ignore his brother, Vibhishan finally decided to join Ram's side during the war. He was granted immortality for his righteousness and loyalty to Dharma, ignoring his familial duties. Vibhishan has since stayed on earth and guided people to the path of truth and Dharma in his own capacity. The sixth immortal is Kripacharya, again from the Mahabharat, who was a revered teacher and warrior, and he was a part of the Kuru dynasty and survived the Kurukshetra war. The Vishnu Puran states that Kripa was given immortality for his discipline. He served Dhritarashtra. In the Mahabharat war, he fought for the Kauravas. After the Mahabharat war, he was the counsel of Yudhishthir, and after Yudhishthir, his successor Parikshit also chose Kripacharya as his counsel. He is slated to become one of the Sapta Rishis, or the seven most revered sages in the next cosmic cycle. The seventh immortal is the sixth avatar of Lord Vishnu, Parshuram, who is known for his axe and warrior-like skills. He is a Brahmin who fought against the power-hungry Kshatriyas. Shiva advised him to go and liberate the earth from ill-behaved people, extremists, demons, and those blind with pride. The eighth Chiranjeevi, in some texts, which is not always included, is Sage Markandai. He was granted immortality after he was saved from death by Lord Shiva when he was destined to die at a young age. The legend of the Chiranjeevis or the seven immortals is that they are all waiting for the end of the current Mahayug or the cycle of 4 yugs. At the end of the current final Kali Yug, evil in the form of Kali, which is not to be confused with goddess Kali, will take over the world. Evil will hit its peak. Adharma will be the norm. At that moment, Vishnu, in his 10th and final avatar, will appear as Kalki. In the battle of good versus evil, Kalki will be supported by all the 7 Chiranjeevis. Ashwatthama will redeem himself by supporting an avatar of Vishnu. Parshuram will be the guru of Kalki, and other immortals will have their own roles to play in this epic Leela of good versus evil. Speaking of these immortals, there are several legends or urban legends associated with not just them, but various other characters as well. Much like the legend of Bigfoot in the US, there are several legends associated with the people in the Himalayas who have sighted a giant ape like creature known as Yeti. Gradually, these sightings were later linked to Hanuman. Now, the issue here is that Hanuman was clearly not an ape. He is known as Kapishwar, which translates to the monkey god. Monkeys have tails, they are not apes, which the Yeti is believed to be. In the legend of Ramayan itself, Hanuman uses his tail to set fire to Lanka. So he clearly is a monkey and not an ape. But another thing to be noted is that Hanuman is blessed with 8 siddhis and 9 nidhis by Sita. Now, these 8 siddhis or 8 superpowers allow Hanuman to change his shape, size, weight, and basically transform into any form he chooses to be. So, maybe going by the legend, he can transform into a human or an ape form and not necessarily live in the body of a monkey for eternity. There's another legend, again related to Hanuman. In fact, I would say most of the urban legends are related to Hanuman chiefly due to his immortal status. Deep within the untouched jungles of Sri Lanka, the Mathang tribe, the descendants of Ravan's brother Vibhishan, who is again another immortal, live in isolation, far from the modern civilization. They hold a deep ancient connection to Lord Hanuman, who is regarded as their guardian deity. Every 41 years, Hanuman visits the tribe to impart divine wisdom or Brahma Gyan, maintaining a tradition that dates back to the time of Ramayan. The Mathangs honor this mystical encounter with the Charan Puja and Sakshat Hanuman Puja. They gather in a hidden cavern, forming a Hanumandal, a massive circle of wheat flour surrounded by flickering oil lamps. Only a select few who have undergone a year of rigorous penance are permitted to guard this secret circle. Inside, they wait for the moment when Hanuman supposedly appears. During his visit, it is believed that Hanuman's divine presence can be felt within the circle, and the tribe's headman receives the deity's messages. These communications, although invisible to the rest, are recorded meticulously in a logbook kept by the tribe, capturing the god's presence and advice. The Mathang speaks of these encounters as if they are chatting with an old friend. The last recorded visit was in 2014, with the next expected being in 2055. The Mathangs believe their territory is none other than the Ashok Vatika, where Sita was held captive by Ravan. Attempts to modernize or develop this secluded land have consistently failed, often thwarted by natural calamities, tsunamis, and floods. The Mathangs believe it is Hanuman himself protecting his beloved territory. Recently, a religious academic group called Setu Asia is translating the Mathang's revered logbook, hoping to bridge the ancient wisdom of Hanuman with modern devotees. For the tribe, this mysterious, timeless bond with Hanuman is more than a story. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith, which is beyond the reach of time and civilization. We have already explored the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu, who incarnates in the world whenever there is an imbalance between good and evil to restore cosmic order. These incarnations, or the Dash avatars, reflect a fascinating sequence that is believed to mirror the evolution of life on Earth, echoing Darwinian theories in a religious framework. Matsya avatar, or the fish, is Vishnu's first avatar. Symbolically, this represents the emergence of life in water. The second avatar is an amphibian tortoise who supports Mount Mandar on his back during the churning of the ocean. Kurma represents the transition from water to land, much like the early amphibians that could survive in both environments. In the Varha avatar, Vishnu becomes a mighty boar that rescues Earth from the demon Hiranyaksh. Varha symbolizes the rise of land dwelling mammals, akin to the next stage of evolution. The Narsimha avatar, which is half human, half lion, is an amalgamation of animal and human qualities, depicting the evolution from primal creatures to more complex beings with humanoid traits. This could simply be a more physically powerful early form of Neanderthals. In fact, many scholars believe that Vanar, which is the term used for Hanuman and other monkey like creatures in the Ramayana, were not actually monkeys or even apes. Vanar means one and Nar, which means a forest man. So these could have been any being with more physical power than a common sapien. In Yuval Noah Harari's famous book The Sapiens, he states that sapiens weren't the only species on Earth. There were Neanderthals, Homo erectus, Homo denisova, Homo habilis, and Homo naledi. So, Narasimha could represent any of these fierce and powerful species. And who knows, the same applies for the Vanar army in the Ramayana as well. Vamana is the dwarf, which marks the advent of early humans. Small in stature but full of potential. He subdues the demon king Bali with his wit and strategy. Just as we spoke about the different species of humans, there was this species called Homo floresiensis, often referred to as the hobbits. They were a fascinating species of the genus Homo that primarily lived in modern day Indonesia. They existed until about 50,000 years ago, which means they coexisted with modern humans for some time. The most striking feature, which you might have guessed, is their small size, standing at about 3.5 feet tall. And they showed signs of relatively advanced behavior such as tool use as well. So, if the Darwinian model is to fit in the Dash avatars, Vaman represents the different species of humans, especially the hobbits, considering its size of 3.5 feet tall. Then there's Parshuram, who was a fierce warrior with an axe, who represents the humans' beginning of the use of tools and weapons according to their environment. Ram is considered the ideal man, who signifies the establishment of societal order, ethics, and duty. Krishna is the divine statesman, known for his strategic brilliance and role in the Mahabharat, representing the development of diplomacy, wisdom, and complex understanding of life's philosophy. Buddha, the enlightened one, in many interpretations, marks a shift towards nonviolence, compassion, and the importance of self realization. The final avatar yet to arrive is Kalki, who is prophesied to appear at the end of the Kali Yuga. So, what is the next step in the human evolution? Android, humanoid, AI. The possibilities present a fascinating and perhaps equally dreadful future. The Dash avatar and the sequence mirrors a Darwinian timeline, yet it transcends biology by embedding deeper metaphysical and spiritual meanings into each stage. Nietzsche, the celebrated German philosopher, has this theory of eternal return or eternal reoccurrence, suggesting that all events in the universe repeat themselves infinitely in a cyclical manner. You will experience this moment in the exact same way again. You have always experienced it. You have watched this video in the previous cycles as well, and you will continue to do it in the future cycles. Forever. Every joy you experienced, every moment of despair, grief, ecstasy, all of them, you have already lived earlier and will continue doing so endlessly. I have explored this idea further in my video about living in a loop. Anyway, Nietzsche's theory, which made him the darling of the intellectuals, isn't the first time someone came up with it. Hindus, since time immemorial, have been doing parikrama, and contrary to the scientific belief of the start and possible end of time, Hinduism posits that time and our universe are cyclical, known as Kal Chakra, the wheel of time. Take the story of Kagbhushandi, a mystical crow from the Ramayana and other books such as Yoga Vasisht. A time traveling crow who sits beyond the arrow of time as we know it. He claims to have witnessed the events of Ramayana 11 times and the Mahabharat 16 times. Perhaps this is the source of inspiration for George R. R. Martin's much disliked Three Eyed Raven.
And who has a better story? and brand the broken.
Now, sources differ on the results of the war. Some say each time the war had different results, but others refuse to believe Ram or Krishna in the avatars of the Supreme Being himself, and fighting for Dharma can be defeated by adharma. Good may take time, but it cannot be defeated. And I personally do not see different results playing out in each version because there's another story in the same text that points out a moment playing out the exact same way each time. After the events of the Ramayan, when Ram Rajya was established, everything was going right, and the Devtas felt that it was time for Vishnu in his Ram avatar to leave the mortal world and return back to his abode. They approached Yamraj, the god of death, who tried many times to escort Lord Ram, but was unable to do so because Hanuman guarded Ram's life vigilantly. Ram understood the problem Yamraj was facing and decided to trick Hanuman. Ram dropped his ring, which fell into a crack in the floor. Ram then asked Hanuman to go and fetch the ring. Hanuman, who could change his large body into as small as a fly, jumped into the crack. He followed the crack until he reached Patal Lok, the lowest realm. When he reached Patal Lok, he was greeted by the king of snakes, Vasuki. Vasuki asked Hanuman what he was looking for, and Hanuman replied that he was looking for Ram's ring. Vasuki then led Hanuman to a room full of rings and asked him to take any of them. Hanuman was surprised and asked, "How can there be so many rings?" Vasuki replied, "Each ring represents one Kal Chakra. In every Kal Chakra, there is a Treta Yuga in which there is Ram and Hanuman. Every time Ram will drop his ring, and Hanuman will come to Patal Lok searching for his ring. And by the time Hanuman returns to earth, Ram is gone." Hanuman then understood the Kal Chakra and let go of his dear Lord Ram, understanding the eternal cycle of time and reoccurrence. While there are striking similarities between Nietzsche's eternal return and the Hindu cyclical time, there is a crucial difference. Nietzsche, coming from a Western perspective, did not factor in reincarnation. In his view, it is the same you experiencing the same life over and over. Hindu philosophy, on the other hand, incorporates reincarnation into its cyclical worldview. It's not just one life on repeat, but countless lives across various forms and species, all playing out in a grand cosmic drama that repeats eternally. To use a modern analogy, Nietzsche's theory is like being forced to watch the same movie repeatedly for eternity. The Hindu concept is more like having a vast streaming library of your multiple lifetimes in various forms. One moment it's the bee movie, then it is the ants, then you're the Lion King, and eventually the several movies in human forms, all part of the same cinematic universe, playing out in the same order forever. Whether you find these ideas comforting, terrifying, or simply fascinating, they invite us to ponder our place in the vast tapestry of existence. In a universe of endless repetition, how will you choose to live this moment? And that wraps up our Hinduism Iceberg series. But really, it's just the beginning. Hinduism is so vast that no matter how many stories we discuss or concepts we explore, there's always more to learn. Some ideas take lifetimes to grasp, others just a few days. Think of this series as a starting point for your spiritual journey. In the past 10 years or so, there's been a renewed interest in Sanatan Dharma. More people are curious about our history and culture, which is great to see. As you explore this path, remember that Hinduism is uniquely inclusive. There's a place for everyone here. We are polytheists with our godly multitudes, monotheists with one big cosmic reality, call it Brahman, Shiv, or any of its names. We are non dualists, monists, and pantheists, seeing the divine in everything from mountains to molehills. We are feminists with an equal reverence to our mother goddess. We are Unitarians in our oneness of Shiva and Shakti. We have got mainstream beliefs rubbing shoulders with esoteric cultures, like a spiritual potluck where every dish somehow works together. We are the seed of spirituality and mysticism. We have 100 folk cultures, 1,000 Kul Devtas, all blending into one rich tradition. Making this video was a joy for me. I've included links below for those who want to dig deeper into various Hindu philosophies. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing or checking out my Patreon as well. This project has changed many of my own beliefs, sparking a desire to learn more about India's diverse philosophical traditions. I hope it does the same for you. Thanks for sticking by till the end, you beautiful, curious souls.